A historic moment unfolded. It was the finals of Epoch, the path of the strongest tournament. It was the undying god of war Lin Jie versus the genius sword Saint Bailey Changcheng. The ultimate clash between two undefeated legends. The host asked if Lin Jie's insane strength and flawless control could really come from a normal player. A man in red armor lunged at his blonde opponent. The host shouted that he was so powerful he could defy the heavens. This man was Lin Jie, known as the Undying Battle Emperor. His class was Berserker, and he was Epoch's #1 warrior. His control was flawless. Every strike went straight for the vitals. He moved like an Asura from hell. The system announced that the defense had been broken. The one defending was Bailey Changcheng, a level 85 sword saint. He ranked #1 on the swordsman leaderboard. The host declared that Jie now had a massive advantage, and Changcheng had no way to fight back. Changcheng's health dropped dangerously low. The host hyped the crowd, saying the champion of the Path of the Strongest was about to be decided. Jie stood over Changcheng. He smiled and said he had won this time. He even reached out a hand to help him up. Changcheng knew he had lost, but he couldn't accept it. He drew out more power. Energy gathered into a single point, then burst outward. Changcheng said that once he became stronger, all of Jie's hard work would mean nothing. Changcheng activated a cheat system. Jie froze at what he saw. Changcheng spent 500,000 yen to gain super speed. Still stunned, Jie realized it was a cheat device. He blocked the first attack, but the next one hit him. Changcheng said Jie was naive for believing hard work could change destiny. Jie felt a chill as Changcheng moved so fast he could barely track him. In an instant, Changcheng appeared behind Jie. He spent 900,000 yen to activate teleportation. Then he used a one-hit kill skill after paying 1,200,000 yen. The blade pierced through Jie's back. The system announced that he had been killed by Changcheng. The loser's account would be permanently deleted, and everything they built would be handed to the winner. Jie never thought he would lose like this. He asked why he betrayed him. He demanded to know why he chose to cheat just to win. It shattered the promise they once made. Changcheng apologized. He said he hoped they could become brothers again in the next life. The system notified Jie that he had lost his player qualifications, and the system began to restart. Jie had lost, and he couldn't accept it. From the day he was born, he had been stuck at the very bottom of society. He had no background, no money, no power. But he believed that as long as he worked hard and stayed ruthless, he could change everything. With his own 2 hands, he clawed his way up the leaderboard. He was only 1 step away from the peak, 1 step away from the throne. He gambled his life for it. But, in the end, he was crushed. He thought that if he could start over, he would climb to the top no matter the cost. The system notified him that all his game qualifications had been revoked. Suddenly, he woke up gasping for air. He was stunned. At first, he had no idea where he was. It looked like his room. He was lying on the floor. A red-haired girl walked in and asked if he was cosplaying as a dead body. He recognized her. It was his sister. 3 years ago, she fell into a coma after a car accident. If she hadn't been kept alive by machines in the ICU, she wouldn't have made it. That's why he used all his prize money from the game to pay for her treatment. So now, seeing her standing right in front of him, he couldn't understand it. He asked how she was fine when she was supposed to be in a hospital bed. She grabbed him and shouted to their mom that he had gone crazy from staying up all night. She said he was the one squatting in front of the TV waiting for the game's midnight launch. Hearing that, he quickly asked what year, month, and day it was. She told him it was the day of Epoch's open beta launch, June 22nd. 5 years ago. That's when it finally hit him. This wasn't a dream. He had really been reborn. When Changcheng betrayed him, he felt nothing but despair. He never expected fate to give him another chance. His life and his game had both been reset. This time, he swore he would stand at the very top of Epoch. With the money he saved from 3 years of part-time work, plus the 100,000 he borrowed from a loan shark, he could finally afford a gaming helmet and start over. Epoch was a VRMMORPG. As time passed, the game evolved alongside its players. It sparked a massive craze. It was an endless and mysterious world, pulling people in with its high-quality virtual reality. In that world, he was known as the Undying God of War. With pure skill and hard work, he climbed to the top using only basic gear and normal abilities. Players praised his mechanics, and he became one of the most respected names among ordinary players. He was just 1 step away from becoming the strongest. But in the end, his best friend Changcheng gave in to power. He turned into an enemy, and betrayed him, stopping him from claiming that final title. It made Jai wonder when the betrayal started and why it happened, but he knew thinking about it now was useless. What mattered was the chance in front of him. And this time, he would leave no regrets. He put on the VR helmet and entered the game. The system asked him to choose his class so he could join players from all over the world in exploring this vast and unknown world from the very beginning. Every player entered the game with zero knowledge, forced to figure everything out on their own. But he was different. He was a veteran from 5 years in the future. He knew this world better than anyone. And he planned to use that advantage to move faster, grow stronger, and stay ahead of everyone else. Now that he had been reborn, his resolve was even stronger. This time, he would finish what he started. He would climb to the very peak of Epoch and become the absolute strongest. He declared that the king of mechanical skill had returned at the beginner village plaza. The crowd started gossiping when they saw a warrior pass by. They couldn't believe there were still people playing that class, which sat at the very bottom of the class hierarchy. One person even commented that even a dog would shake its head at him. Another person chimed in, saying he didn't even have a decent weapon, yet he walked around so arrogantly. They thought he had nothing to show off when he was broke. They were talking about Lin Jie, a level 1 human warrior. He had no title. He had 125 health points, no mana, and 0 over 100 rage. His attack was 1 to 4 unarmed, defense was 1 base, strength was 5, stamina was 5, agility was 3, intelligence was 1, spirit was 1, and willpower was 3. Willpower builds up when dealing damage in that state, and it is required to cast skills. But our MC didn't even care about all of these, because he knew things that only he can exploit. 2 years ago, under the night sky with Chang Cheng, he said that no matter what, even if he had to start over, he would still choose to be a warrior. Chang Cheng replied that warrior was a class only bottom-tier players would pick. Because they couldn't afford expensive gear and they couldn't use flashy spells, they could only rely on their natural toughness to charge into the front lines and soak up damage. Basically, warriors were just cannon fodder. He suggested that if Jai wanted to experience the strongest gameplay in the game, he should choose a swordsman like him. Elegant and deadly. But Jai firmly believed that the path to power belonged to warriors. He had insane resilience in any situation, and the stronger the enemy, the stronger he became. Only by fighting through every crisis does one earn the right to become the undying god of war, the tier 0 of the patch. Back then, he was level 80, a warrior berserker with the title Undying God of War. He said that only a player who had gone through countless battles without ever dying could earn the title Undying God of War. Chang Cheng asked if he was sure that title would still exist after that day. That question led him to propose a bet. Chang Cheng asked what they were betting on. Ji said the bet was that even after returning, he would still be the Undying God of War. At the present moment, he thought about how a warrior's natural advantage was their high health. Even if he was poor, he wouldn't get one-shot by mini-bosses. On top of that, after completing a quest, he could advance into a higher class in the warrior tree, and it was the same path he chose before. The Berserker, a class that turns health into pure combat power. Pay-to-win players only care about the highest damage or the coolest-looking classes. Mage, swordsman, hunter, and assassin all have massive followings, so 9 out of 10 parties on the streets are just different mixes of those damage classes. But with how unbalanced monster stats are in the early game, he doubted they could even hold their ground, let alone stand still and deal damage. Warriors, on the other hand, have a clear survival advantage right from the start. As for their weaknesses, he could make up for them with his deep knowledge of the game. The system suddenly notified him of a new quest. For this, he had to report to Meltown. Time remaining, 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Jai walked up to an old man with a long beard. He was the novice guide outright. He didn't expect to see the old man again, so he felt a bit nostalgic. Suddenly, someone complained that the trash warrior bumped into him. It was a level 2 paladin player, Balai. He told Jie that if he wanted to pass, he had to pay 1 copper coin. Paladin was one of the early pay-to-win classes players loved to pick. It was an all-rounder that balanced damage, healing, and even crowd control. Balai smirked and said that if he didn't pay, he wouldn't be able to pass. G noticed that it had only been half an hour since the server opened, yet someone was already level 2. It looked like the same exploit exposed on the forums in his past life. These people dumped money to buy the novice experience pack right after creating their characters. They used the early level gap to bully the weak, mainly by extorting protection money. But in reality, they didn't understand the game at all, and their gear hadn't caught up either. They were just paper tigers. The best choice for the new arrival reward was a bag of copper coins, a full 10. Even if someone paid 1 copper coin as protection money, they would still make a profit. But Ji asked why he would give them any money. Balai threatened him, saying it was because he was stronger. Then he attacked, telling Ji to delete his account and start over. Ji grabbed his hand. Balai was shocked that he couldn't use any strength. Ji said that grip amplification was an innate talent. It boosts finger strength, making it harder to drop a weapon once you hold it. Balai quickly activated disarm resistance. Balai was stunned. The so-called useless talent meant for holding weapons tightly was being used against him. Ji calmly said that was just what others thought. To him, it was the strongest talent. Balai ended up in tears after getting disarmed by someone fighting barehanded. Ji knew that even a trash talent could be used in unexpected ways. Grip amplification lets him parry basic attacks with his bare hands. The effect grows stronger as strength increases. If his strength is higher than the opponent's, he can even trigger a disarm counter. And since Balai got disarmed, it meant the level 2 paladin had lower strength than a fresh account. He didn't put any points into strength at all, which means he had no idea how to play the game. Balai didn't know that in future talent upgrades, grip amplification would become one of the strongest talents in the warrior tree. Titan's Grip, the advanced form of grip amplification, was a famous god-tier skill. It allowed someone to wield a two-handed dragon-slaying greatsword with one hand. But unlocking it required choosing grip amplification at character creation. The guards arrived, and the crowd quickly scattered. Balai arrogantly told Ji that he was dead meat now. For causing trouble in a safe zone, he would be executed on the spot. He even swore in the name of the Holy Light that Jai had attacked someone in public. Jai knew that the halberd-wielding guards of Beginner Village could one-shot level 1 or 2 players. He calmly admitted that he did hit him. Balai urged the guards to punish him harshly. But Jie explained that it was self-defense. Balai froze. The guards rushed forward. He quickly told them to wait, claiming he was a major VIP who had spent 100,000. Jai pointed out that whoever strikes first in a safe zone is judged as the aggressor by NPCs, and anyone who fights back won't be punished, even if they beat the instigator badly. The guards immediately struck Balai. Then a notification popped up. The paladin guard had gifted Ji 1 copper coin. It was compensation for the victim. Ji smirked and told Balai he accepted his apology. Balai's lackeys were furious. Ji casually asked if they wanted to drop a few more copper coins for him. He even gave them the option to clear a path. They were annoyed, but they had no choice but to move aside. Ji walked up to the old man to claim his novice reward. He sat beside him and said it had been a long time since they last met. Outright looked confused and asked if he knew him. After all, the game had only been out for 1 day. Ji said they were practically old acquaintances. It had been 5 years since they last met. Outright thought he was joking. It didn't matter. Since Ji followed the quest and sat in front of him, he qualified for the novice reward. He could choose one of 3 options: 10 copper coins, 3 basic health potions, or a crude iron sword, a warrior-exclusive item. The bystanders laughed, saying any idiot would pick money. Broke players would instantly sell the 10 copper coins. Right now, it could go for at least 100 grand on the black market. But unexpectedly, Ji chose option 4. He knew that it would take 3 years before anyone discovered that the novice quest had a hidden option. The crowd thought he had lost his mind. There was no option 4. Then Ji said, "The bonfire before dawn will extinguish twice." With that, he became the first to unlock the hidden reward. Outright was stunned. He asked where Ji had heard those words. Ji continued, "When the dark moon sinks into eternal night, the Forsaken shall step through the rifts of time and return. What reignites in the ashes is the fading fire of the old gods and the dawn of a new era." Outright stood there with his mouth open, completely shocked. Jai then revealed Mino that it was the secret code Outright himself once gave him. 5 years ago, Jai received a hidden quest to protect Outright's family. Outright broke down in tears as he said he didn't know how to repay him. After all, he was just a novice guide NPC. He truly had no rewards to offer. But he told Jai that if he ever needed help one day, he should just say that phrase. And even if his identity changed and the system made him forget, he would still remember that Jai was his savior. Outright slowly realized that Jai was someone incredibly important to him. The system then notified that Jai had met the conditions for the hidden quest. Since that was the case, Outright gave him everything he had. It also revealed that the 4th option was a veteran player return reward. In Jai's past life, he was only 1 step away from becoming the strongest, but in the end, he was taken down by unfair means. Even if unfairness is normal in this world, He refused to accept it. He used an initial talent stone. It was a unique bound item that grants an initial talent. The crowd was shocked to see the custom talent gemstone. It could only be bound once per account at the very start. It couldn't even be bought with real money. If he wanted to become the strongest in this life, he had to dominate from the very beginning. For his second talent, he chose Oath of the Sword. The hidden quest was his first step in changing his fate. Outright explained that this talent was created by the legendary sword saint, Karsi Mel. Those who inherit it become sword oath keepers, gaining extraordinary swordsmanship, but they can only use swords for the rest of their lives. He asked G if he was sure. G answered without hesitation. Of course, the crowd was confused. They couldn't believe someone would still pick Oath of the Sword. To them, only idiots would choose the sword class as a second talent nowadays. They mocked him, calling him a noob who still looked confident after picking the most bottom-tier weapon mastery. Outright simply said that the strongest weapon isn't the sword, but the one who wields it. Jai thanked him for the gift. In his past life, he only unlocked a second talent at level 30, but now, he had it from the very start. His combat power was already far ahead, meaning faster leveling, and one step closer to the throne of the strongest. The advantage of pay-to-win players in the early game would fade quickly after level 5. If they wanted to keep up, they would have to keep spending. But if someone relied on pure mechanics like Jai, even a crude iron sword was enough. The sword didn't have the raw damage of an axe. It lacked the suppression of a spear. And it didn't have the flashy effects of a staff. But what people didn't realize was that the sword was the one weapon that truly required skill. His original plan was simple. Start with grip amplification. Take the crude iron sword from Outright, then head out and begin grinding. But this time, by choosing the hidden reward, the initial talent stone, he skipped the crude iron sword entirely. Now, he was heading out empty-handed. He realized everything had changed. If he made different choices in this life, then the entire path ahead would change too. And maybe even the ending. Before he met Changcheng again, he knew one thing for sure. He had to become stronger. He would completely overturn the ending of his past life. As he walked forward, he passed a merchant selling beginner weapons and gear. A hooded man stepped closer with a faint smirk, saying he wanted to check what was being sold. After a quick look, he tossed the items aside, calling them nothing but scrap metal. Then he bent down and picked up a wooden stick. As soon as he held it, a system panel appeared. It was just a level 1 weapon, an ordinary, unprocessed wooden stick with pitiful attack power. A wooden stick's main attack method is striking, so it's classified as a club. But it also carried a hidden sword tag. That's when he realized something. The merchant panicked and begged for mercy, explaining that he was just a lifestyle player. He nervously added that buying and selling gear was his only way to make a living. The hooded man mocked him, calling him a coward who didn't even know how to fight. As he swung his weapon down, he laughed and told him to go back home and play house. To him, the merchant was nothing but an eyesore. GA stepped in and said that lifestyle players were players too. No one was above anyone else. Without chefs making food, alchemists crafting potions, and blacksmiths forging weapons, most combat players wouldn't even make it past the city gates. He asked how much the wooden stick cost, and the merchant said 1 copper coin. The hooded man asked who he was. G calmly gave his name and class. The man laughed the moment he heard warrior. Jai handed over the coin, and the merchant gratefully thanked him. Jai couldn't help but feel how perfectly timed it was. The coin he got from Balai became the key to something important. The hooded man grew annoyed that Jai ruined his fun. He claimed he was just doing a good deed. Jai pointed out the truth. He was just bullying people. The hooded man smirked and said Jai didn't even realize he had been scammed. He mocked him as a clueless rookie warrior. He went on, saying the wooden stick was complete trash, something no one would even pick up off the ground. He snapped, calling him a dumbass and saying the merchant was obviously a scammer. Frustrated, he cursed that the goods were so worthless he wouldn't even step on them. He said G deserved to be scammed, then told his companion to leave. The companion quickly followed. In every beginner village, blacksmith shops were filled with wooden sticks. Even if they were priced at 0, no one cared. Only clueless newbies would buy them for 1 copper coin, thinking it was a bargain. It became a classic scam when Epoch first launched, but G wasn't a newbie. He was the undying god of war, someone who had handled countless divine artifacts with his bare hands. His instincts wouldn't be wrong. This wooden stick had both sword and club attributes. A normal weapon system shouldn't allow that kind of overlap. Unless it was an unidentified divine artifact. Even if he couldn't identify it yet, using it as a sword was more than enough. Jai equipped the wooden stick. A status window appeared before him, showing his identity as Lin Jie, a returned player now at level 1, a human warrior with no title. It displayed his stats, 125 health points, no mana, and a rage system at 0/100 that builds through combat. His attack was 2-5, slightly boosted by the wooden stick while his defense remained basic. His attributes were also listed, showing 5 strength and endurance, 1 intelligence and spirit, and 3 agility and willpower. A sudden surge of power erupted, spreading across the sky like dark cracks tearing through the air. Then multiple system alerts appeared, announcing that the world quest Demon's Offensive had been triggered. Everyone was ordered to defend the gates of Meltown from the incoming demons and protect the town's guardian crystal. G recalled that Meltown stood on a key front line of the Epoch continent and was one of the areas most affected by the plague. This caused the level 2 monsters outside the North Gate to become highly aggressive demons that spawned endlessly. He remembered that 1 year after the game's open beta began, Meltown had completely disappeared from the map. It was most likely wiped out by the same demon army. The players were excited since killing monsters at the North Gate gave high experience, but the guards stopped them. Even though the situation was urgent, they didn't want novice players rushing to the North Gate to die. They advised everyone to go to the other 3 gates, fight weaker monsters, and level up first, but Jie said he wanted to pass through. The guard warned him that once he left the gates, he would lose all novice protection. He replied that he was looking for opponents on his level, even if they were stronger. The guards opened the gates. The system notified him that due to his bravery, his reputation in Meltown increased by +100. This meant his reputation had reached friendly. He remembered that the game had hidden rules designed to push players beyond their limits. If an NPC believed a player was taking on a high-risk challenge, their favorability would increase, unlocking hidden quests. The guard captain, seeing his resolve, called him a brave adventurer and asked for his help. At the same time, a system prompt appeared. He had triggered a side quest. Guard captain's request. Everything was going exactly as planned. He had successfully unlocked a quest that normally shouldn't appear at his level. The guard captain explained that 3 of his men were trapped in the camp of a dreadfiend boss named Chanter Griffin. He begged Jai to retrieve their bodies so they could be buried properly. Jai thought about how defeating enemies above his level could grant bonus rewards. At the same time, this could be his chance to change Meltown's fate. He told Guard Captain Lance that what they needed wasn't just a burial. The real solution was to kill the novice killer Chanter Griffin and clear the dungeon completely. He knew the boss had to be defeated by someone far below the required level. Because of that, he decided to suppress his level as much as possible before facing it. He was confident that with his skill and deep understanding of the boss's mechanics, he could take down a god-tier boss, even at level 1. The guard captain was shocked, asking how he even knew his name. Jai calmly declared that he would rescue the trapped soldiers, defeat Chanter Griffin, and save Meltown. He told them to prepare for a celebration. The guard captain shook his head, saying it was impossible. Unless a miracle happened, his men were as good as dead. He urged Jai to do what he could and wait for Chanter Griffin to leave. Jai simply said he was that miracle, and deep down he knew the truth. This time, he had nothing to rely on but himself. But in this life, he would use his own hands to change his fate. Moments later, Jai walked around the cemetery. He wondered if the entrance of Beginner Village had already turned into a river of blood. Then he smelled it, and that confirmed everything. Epoch was designed with brutal difficulty, almost like the developers had a grudge against the players. Even so, the rewards were so high that players all over the world still rushed in to compete. In the distance, players were already shouting commands. Tanks were told to push forward, while healers were ordered to hold their positions as the battle began. A group near a campfire realized they were missing a support. One of them pointed out they also lacked a tank and called for experienced players to join. Jai knew that for average players, the safest choice was to form a party. Someone walked up to him and asked if he was the idiot who got scammed earlier. They mocked him for still holding his precious wooden stick. One of them clicked his tongue and called the others over to take a look. G found them boring. They kept making fun of him, asking if he seriously planned to farm monsters alone as a noob warrior. One laughed and said that with such trash gear, he would eventually end up begging to join a party. Another added that he was just a level 1 warrior with a wooden stick, and the only reason he looked confident was probably because he got carried before. G calmly thought that while forming a party reduces risk, it also lowers profit. To him, hunting alone was far more rewarding, up to 5 times the profit compared to being in a party. And once someone was strong enough, parties actually became a disadvantage. G slapped the man's hand away. The man fell flat on his butt from the shock. Jie noticed that despite looking sturdy, the knight's body was surprisingly fragile. He guessed that the knight had chosen a retribution-type class as his initial talent. The knight could use holy flames and looked powerful at first glance. But the trade-off was losing 2 strength points, and his body became as fragile as paper. It was basically giving up everything that made a knight strong in close combat. Jai scoffed and called him a ghost-fire knight who only hid behind his team. To him, the man was nothing more than a coward. Suddenly, a system alert appeared, warning that a demon had detected them. At the same time, a shadowy creature with glowing red eyes stepped out of the darkness and locked onto them. Another alert showed that the demon's aggro had locked onto Ji. Seeing this, the man immediately ran away. As he fled, he laughed and mocked him, saying he didn't expect this, and that the demon would send him back to town for free. Jai instantly understood. The man had purposely drawn the monster's attention and redirected it to him. Still, compared to Balai, this guy at least had some brains. As the demon lunged forward, Jia moved without hesitation. He knew defeating a level 2 demon alone wouldn't be enough to level up. So instead, he decided to use it as a warm-up on the way to his real goal. Watching from a distance, the others were confused, wondering why he wasn't running. They laughed it off, thinking he was just too scared to react. Jai's eyes sharpened as he focused, quietly saying that he could see it. He meant he could see the trajectory of the incoming strike. As the demon swung its weapon down, he slipped past it with ease, triggering a system notification for a perfect dodge. He reflected that a true warrior only grows stronger when facing death. By putting himself in danger, he could draw out the full power of his body. And only by constantly challenging danger could he become the strongest in this life. He struck the monster, landing a critical hit of -6. The demon roared in fury. A system alert appeared, stating that the demon had become enraged, boosting its attack power by 50%. The knight shouted in panic, warning that the monster was using a charged attack and that rushing in now was basically suicide. But instead of backing off, Jai calmly thought the current intensity still wasn't enough. As the attack came, he stepped even closer, deciding he needed to push himself further. He moved in even closer. Seeing the perfect opening, he moved exactly as planned and struck again, triggering a critical hit of -10. The monster let out a pained roar as the strike pierced its body, blood spilling from the wound. Jai was surprised when his attack was suddenly interrupted. Without hesitation, he rushed in again, closing the gap even more. He followed up without pause, unleashing a rapid series of strikes. Each hit landed cleanly, carving into the demon one after another and giving it no chance to recover. A system message appeared, confirming that he had killed a dread fiend warrior alone and earned +100 experience and +5 copper coins. Looking at the fallen body, he thought that pushing past his limits was the right way to play the game. Meanwhile, the others stood frozen in disbelief, shocked that he pulled it off using nothing but a wooden stick, wondering if that was even possible for a level 1 noob player. The knight tried to make sense of it, convincing himself it had to be luck, that every hit just happened to be critical. Otherwise, he had no way to explain what he had just seen. A man asked if Jie was a closed beta player of Epoch. He said this level of skill couldn't be trained without hundreds of hours. He offered to team up, saying he needed an expert on his side. Without hesitation, Jie refused, saying he wasn't interested. But the man guessed he was heading toward Chanter Griffin. He knew it required a 5-man party, and their team already had 4 members. They were just missing 1. A system prompt appeared, showing he had received an invitation from Reckford to join their party, but he stayed silent. Reckford tried to persuade him, offering to split the profits equally. Jai pointed out that while 5 people were recommended to challenge Chanter Griffin, it wasn't actually a strict requirement. Reckford looked worried and asked if he was really planning to go solo. He told him that in a dungeon like this, relying on just one person's skill wouldn't be enough. He tried to convince him, explaining that Griffin's first kill reward included a special title and legacy equipment. He added that no teams with fewer than 20 members were attempting the dungeon, and their group had the best chance among them. Confidently, he even said Jai was lucky they were willing to let him join. One of them warned that in Griffin's second phase, it would summon a few elite monsters. Without a tank, they wouldn't be able to withstand the attacks and would get wiped out instantly. Hearing that, Jai pointed out that what they really needed was a tank, and he just so happened to be a warrior. Reckford quickly waved it off, telling him not to misunderstand. He claimed they thought highly of him and believed his strength was worthy of joining their elite squad. Then, with an awkward smile, he added that it definitely wasn't because they lacked a tank and had no choice but to pull him in. But Ji saw right through them, realizing they just wanted to use him as cannon fodder to draw the boss's attention. This kind of trap was obvious. Reckford asked what he thought, and Jai accepted the invitation. A system prompt appeared, confirming that he had joined Rex's party. He recalled that dungeon boss battles scaled their difficulty and rewards based on the number of participants. If a full 5-man party entered, the boss would switch into full combat mode. In return, defeating it would grant exclusive rewards. He knew that once the hidden quest was completed, Chanter Griffin would be permanently removed. After that, its rewards would be gone for good. In this life, he wanted to reach the top and become the strongest. The reward from this dungeon was the most important step for his early growth. Of course, he was determined to seize this one and only chance, and take everything for himself. Jai stood at the entrance of the Chanter Griffin's dungeon after clearing the monsters along the way. The corpses were scattered all the way to the entrance. The group criticized him, saying he was wasting his strength before even entering the dungeon. They pointed out how hard it was to get potions in the early game, implying he was being careless and foolish. One of them pointed out that the drop rates were terrible, saying that even killing 100 monsters would only give 2 copper coins. He added that getting a piece of green gear was nearly impossible unless it came from pay-to-win packs. They continued, saying that the number of players who managed to get green gear on the first day of the server launch could be counted on one hand. A system notification suddenly appeared, stating that the wooden stick was looking for a host. One of them stopped him, saying that players couldn't use monster weapons. It was called an unlootable drop. The man explained that if picking up and selling monster weapons were that easy, the game's economy would collapse on the very first day. Jai ignored him and checked for the host that was mentioned. He wondered if the wooden stick actually wanted to fuse with the monster's equipment. A system message appeared as the branch of the world tree began fusing with the weapon in his hand. In a flash of light, the transformation was complete, and he obtained a demon's chipped sword. The new weapon added a bleed effect on critical hits. Its critical rate could drop to -99%, attack was +10, and strength +1. He recognized it immediately, the branch of the world tree, something he had seen at an auction 3 years ago. He recalled that it could change form based on the wielder and surroundings, but for now, it had taken the shape of a wooden stick. One excellent trait of a legacy divine artifact was that it could wrap around any object and turn it into a sword. More precisely, it functioned like a divine sword hilt. In the end, this legacy divine artifact had once been auctioned off for 100 million. He couldn't help but feel surprised that it had ended up with him. Most players only had white or gray equipment at this stage, while even basic monsters were already using green gear. It was clear to him that players and enemies weren't on the same level at all. A system update showed that he had equipped the demon's chipped sword. He realized that by using the branch of the world tree to pick up weapons from monsters, he could freely swap and upgrade weapons without any cost. His stats updated as well, showing a clear boost in attack power while his other attributes stayed the same. He walked forward calmly, his new weapon in hand, as chaos erupted ahead. In the distance, something slammed into the ground, kicking up dust and signaling that the battle had already begun. The battle broke out as players charged forward, shouting to fight to the death and protect Meltown. They rallied each other with cries of glory, holding the line as the boss, Chanter Griffin, appeared before them. Reckford told him not to rush in, explaining that it was still just the boss battle cutscene and that they could only enter the fight once it ended. Confidently, he explained what would happen next. Within seconds, the 3 in front would be crushed by a single strike, after which Griffin would enter a recovery phase where its attack speed and damage would drop. He gathered everyone to charge in together shortly. But before he could continue, G calmly cut him off, saying he had no interest in finishing this cutscene. He told the guards to abandon the fight and head back quickly, saying Guard Captain Lance was waiting for them to return. Hearing that, the others were caught off guard, confused by what he was saying. The guards followed his command. His way of fighting was to jump straight into battle. The cutscene could be skipped, but it came at a price players had to pay. The others were shocked, calling him crazy for charging the boss head-on. Reckford quickly told everyone to stay out of the boss's aggro range and decided to just let Jai go get himself killed. The payoff for interrupting the cutscene was that the enemy would release stronger hostility toward whoever rushed in first. That role usually belonged to a tank warrior who drew aggro. But G wasn't just being stubborn. He had a reason for doing this. The world line had changed, and the direction of the quest could change as well. In this life, G was the butterfly disrupting that world line. He was changing destiny. With that resolve, he charged forward and clashed head-on with the boss. Reckford admitted they had tricked several cannon fodders before to test the boss and were just waiting for it to enter the recovery phase so they could steal the first kill rewards. But one party member worried that Jai would take a share of their experience and rewards, since the system split everything equally among party members. Of course, Reckford had no intention of giving him that chance. In the middle of the battle, a system alert appeared. Reckford had kicked G from the party. G parried the next strike. He had just confirmed his suspicion that they had been luring newcomers here to die and lower the difficulty of raiding the boss. They believed that Chanter Griffin, which was hard to defeat even with a 5-man party, was impossible for a level 1 player to kill. But they miscalculated. He wasn't a novice. He unleashed his power and declared himself a warrior reborn from hell. His presence alone shook the battlefield, leaving the enemy stunned as they faced him head-on. A powerful strike echoed across the area, the impact tearing through the air with a loud, ripping sound. Hearing it, Reckford and his party froze, wondering if they had heard correctly. It sounded like something had just been ripped apart. Jai charged in without hesitation, shouting for the enemy to face him head-on. With explosive speed, he swung his weapon, each strike hitting with overwhelming force. As he fought, he called for his sword to become sharper, pushing his power even further. A system effect activated, boosting his attack power while wielding the sword, making each blow even stronger. As the party watched the fight, they were shocked to see the boss's health actually dropping. It made them realize that he wasn't struggling. He was holding his ground and fighting the boss evenly. The battlefield erupted as Chanter Griffin released a surge of dark energy, signaling a shift in the fight. A system alert confirmed that the boss had entered its second phase. Empowered by the transformation, Chanter Griffin unleashed a stronger, more violent attack toward him. G placed himself right in the most dangerous position. Even as the dark energy rushed toward him, he remained calm, ready to face it without backing down. The others watched in shock, thinking he had lost his mind for trying to parry a boss-level charged attack. They were convinced he was as good as dead and began preparing themselves, expecting it would soon be their turn to step in. A massive explosion erupted as the attack collided, sending a shockwave across the area. It was Chanter Griffin's attack. Amid the explosion, Jai stood firm, meeting it head-on. He admitted that to others, choosing the warrior class, something most people believed had no future, seemed unbelievable. But they simply refused to understand. He said not everyone in this world was born with the right to choose. He recalled that 5 years ago, before the game launched in his previous life, professions were priced based on a player's wealth. Only the rich could afford to choose top-tier damage classes. Players without money had no real choice. They were pushed into unpopular support roles or treated as expendable cannon fodder. He remembered hearing that the warrior class was only available briefly at launch, and it was often recommended to those who just wanted to grind and earn money. And as a common player, he discovered a shocking truth. To firmly seize opportunities, he had to give up all other options. Reckford was in disbelief, insisting that at level 1, blocking that kind of attack was impossible. But in Jai's mind, he knew the truth. By using the lowest cost yet most intense training method, he could push himself further than ordinary players ever could. A system tip appeared, showing a technique called grip amplification, allowing him to firmly hold his weapon and even use it like a shield. He made his rebirth count and gripped the sword tightly in his hands. He trusted it completely, just as he trusted himself. A system alert appeared, signaling that Chanter Griffin had exposed an opening. He reminded himself that by giving up all other options, he gained countless opportunities. He charged toward the monster. With unwavering resolve, he thought that even if his enemies were as powerful as gods, it wouldn't matter. To him, anything standing in his way would fall. With absolute determination, he declared that he would become the strongest. Jai charged at Chanter Griffin with the intent to end the fight. Chanter Griffin attacked at the same time. His body flared with blazing energy as he cut Chanter Griffin in half. The system notified that he had successfully killed Chanter Griffin. He landed lightly on the ground. With his current base stats, he realized it was still a bit of a stretch to withstand the boss's heavy attacks, but thanks to the warrior's health advantage, he still had a sliver of HP left. The system notified that he had killed the level 5 boss Chanter Griffin, gaining a 500% experience bonus and 2,350 experience points. He also reached level 2. Jai, a human warrior, currently had no title. His health was at 145 points, with no mana, and rage at 0 over 100. His basic attacks generated rage, while skills consumed it. His attack power was 13 to 14, boosted by plus 12 from equipment. Defense was 11, strength was 8 plus 1, intelligence 7, agility 4, constitution 1, spirit 1, and luck 3. Reckford couldn't believe what he was seeing. He couldn't accept that the Griffin had been defeated before even reaching its second phase. The system announced that the time-limited quest was complete, and Jai was the first player in God's domain to kill Chanter Griffin. Meltown's reputation increased by 200, and his personal reputation there exceeded 300. Since Chanter Griffin was killed by a non-upgraded player who completed the mission For Whom the Bell Tolls, the boss and its demon legion would permanently disappear from Epoch, restoring peace to Meltown. Chanter Griffin's body began to glow brightly. Reckford insisted that Jai must have used a bug, calling it an unfair victory. He ordered his party members to pick up the loot on the ground, reasoning that since they came together, they should still get most of the drops, even if they didn't fight. But one of his party members said he couldn't pick anything up. The system notified that he didn't have the qualification to loot. The man panicked, confused about why he couldn't claim the rewards, realizing he didn't meet the requirements. Then the truth hit them. Chanter Griffin had been defeated entirely by Lin Ji. Stunned, he connected the dots and realized that Lin Ji had been removed from the party just before the kill. Reckford shouted in frustration, yelling that the drops had nothing to do with them anymore. A golden item appeared. Chanter Griffin's Golden Bell. A legacy divine artifact. It granted a powerful protection effect that could block a fatal attack once and knock back enemies when shattered. Jai didn't expect it to be so small. He casually reached out and called the loot to him. Coins spun through the air in a bright swirl, flying straight toward him. One man who tried to grab the loot cursed loudly as he watched it fly away. He complained in frustration, wondering why Jai got to keep everything. Reckford tried to calm Hawk down, saying it didn't matter, even if Jai took all the rewards. They quickly came up with a new plan. According to the game's rules, a player who died would drop all the loot they obtained within 24 hours. So they decided to kill Jai, so the Griffin's rewards would still belong to them. Hawk hesitated, reminding the group that Jai had just defeated Griffin alone and that his strength was far beyond what they expected. The marksman activated a skill to assess Jai's condition and saw that his health was only at 3%. Confidently, he concluded that even a light hit would be enough to finish him off. Reckford told everyone to switch to player versus player mode. They planned to let GA enter the dungeon first, then kill him inside to make sure he wouldn't come out alive. They quietly moved behind him. Jai was checking his loot. Killing a boss had earned him 100 copper coins and a large amount of alchemy materials. The current price of 1 copper coin was 12,000 yuan, so the total was 1.2 million yuan. He had just made a fortune in a single day. Reckford approached with a mocking smile, sarcastically congratulating him and admitting he had real skill. Jai's tone turned cold as he accused him of betraying their cooperation and kicking him out of the party. He told him it was already too late for apologies. Reckford quickly changed his tone, pretending they had trusted him all along and chose not to interfere because of his strength. He praised him for defeating a 5-man difficulty boss alone, calling it impressive. He added that he and the others should at least get some credit for it too. A system warning appeared, stating that G had suffered a fatal heavy wound. Before returning to a safe zone, his maximum health was drastically reduced, and all his stats were cut in half. Reckford told him they had already figured out his background, and that it was the end for him. They reminded him that the people he had dealt with were part of the infamous Rex's villain gang. Their rule was simple: kill monsters and players alike. They cooperated, but they also betrayed. The archer aimed at G. While Reckford told him it was time to hand everything over, the archer released a powerful arrow. Jai recognized it as the hunter skill Eagle Eye. It greatly increased accuracy, almost guaranteeing a hit in open areas. He realized the archer had intentionally missed. He asked them what they meant. Reckford made it clear. It wasn't just Griffin's loot he wanted. He demanded everything, including the wooden stick, his equipment, and everything else he had. He added that if Jai begged for mercy, they might spare his life. With a cruel smirk, he said he wanted Jai to leave the Hill of Sinners completely bare, so everyone could witness his humiliation. He burst into laughter, imagining Jai as a bare-assed warrior, a pauper who thought he could reach the heavens in one leap just because he got lucky and triggered the boss's weakness. In his eyes, G was nothing more than an idiot crawling at the very bottom of society. Since it had come to this, G had no intention of letting that happen. To him, they were nothing more than obstacles on his path to becoming stronger. He said he would step over them without a second thought and keep moving forward. They weren't even worth remembering. He smirked confidently and challenged them to come at him if they had the courage. This was exactly what he wanted. Since he refused them, they charged to kill him. The archer activated Eagle Eye. Jai used the bell. It blocked every attack. The clash triggered a powerful explosion. Reckford's team grew annoyed at the divine artifact left by Chanter Griffin. Hawk asked what the golden bell did. He wondered if it granted invincibility. Jai replied that it wasn't invincibility, it just bought him 1 second of breathing room. Hawk scoffed, asking what difference 1 second could make. Jai answered that upgrading a skill enhancement only took 1 second. After that, he could crush the 3 of them completely. The system notified that he used 1 free skill point to learn an exclusive warrior skill. The skill was Death's Respite. When near death, he could activate it to recover a small amount of health. If he was in an extreme state or surrounded by enemies, it would restore a massive amount of HP. It could even exceed the warrior's maximum health limit. The archer was stunned when they saw his health fully recover. They couldn't understand how he did it. He even broke past the limits of his heavy injuries. Jai asked if they wanted to witness power from hell. The mage told his team not to panic, pointing out that Jai's sword was still stuck in the ground. He ordered them to focus fire. Jai rushed forward. Reckford froze in shock. He was about to say something, but the archer was already hit. A powerful punch sent him flying. Reckford and the mage were stunned by how fast he was. On top of that, he had killed the archer with a single punch. Jai activated Grip Enhancement. When fighting unarmed, he gained boosted combat power. Reckford shouted for Mechi, the mage, to use Ice Burst to control him. The mage cast Ice Burst, freezing Jai in place. Then Hawk charged in with his greatsword, saying he had been annoyed with him for a long time. But Ji shifted his body just an inch, causing the blade to slam into the ice instead. The impact shattered the frozen binding. He pulled back his fist, and with a single punch, he blasted Hawk away. Mechi couldn't believe that his Ice Burst failed to hold him. Jai explained that as long as his strength stat was high enough, he could break free by force. That level of frost magic was nothing more than child's play to him. Mechi argued that he saw Ji's stats get cut in half due to the heavy injuries, so he couldn't understand how his strength was still that high. Then, he noticed the battle aura wrapped around Jai's body. He realized that Jai's stats didn't look reduced at all. He told the archer to use Eagle Eye to check Jai's stats. Jai stepped forward and grabbed Mechi's hand, telling him there was no need, because he had already sent that archer back to the respawn point earlier. Mechi panicked, insisting something was wrong. He claimed Ji was using a cheat program, that Ji was a hacker. Those words triggered Ji's painful memories. It reminded him of when Changqing betrayed him. Back then, Changqing declared that Jie had lost. Jie had sworn he would never fall to that level. So hearing Mechi say that made his anger boil. He twisted Mechi's fingers, calling him scum for accusing others of cheating when he couldn't win. Overwhelmed by the pain, Mechi begged for mercy. He said he surrendered and promised to leave Rex's villain gang if Jai let him go, but it was too late. Jai used Power Punch on him and sent him flying straight into a building. When Mechi crashed, he blasted a hole through it. Someone stepped forward and told Jai that he had just thrown away his last advantage as a warrior. Reckford already understood how Jai used his skills to gain the upper hand. He knew that in disadvantageous situations, Jai could unleash bursts of strength, especially when surrounded by multiple enemies. The system notified that the warrior trait Last Stand meant that when under siege, his stats would increase significantly. The under siege status required at least 3 enemies surrounding him to activate. Reckford understood this well, and now that he was the only one left, Last Stand could no longer trigger. Jai admitted that, saying he would send him back to town with a single sword strike, fair and square. Reckford pointed out that Jai didn't understand his current situation. He explained that he was a professional killer who specialized in hunting players, especially in one-on-one fights. He was confident that he had the advantage. Reckford declared that he would take Jai's pathetic life. The killer class trait was Weak Point Strike, meaning every hit would stack debuffs on the target. Different strikes caused different effects. Arms would be disabled, legs crippled, the torso would bleed, and the most dangerous hit was to the head, which would cause blindness. Once hit, a player would quickly be buried under layers of debuffs. Reckford admitted that Jai had solid skills. Even while wielding a clumsy greatsword, his speed could keep up. But close-range combat was his domain. Once someone got hit, even if the damage looked small, the stacked debuffs would slowly overwhelm them. He declared that soon, Jai would be on his knees, begging for a quick death. Jai thought about it, and solved the problem by creating distance. Reckford watched as Jai sliced a building in half and realized that even with reduced stats, his attacks were still dangerously strong. They acknowledged that a warrior's early game power couldn't be underestimated. Still, Reckford believed that in a prolonged battle of attrition, Jai would eventually lose. But Jai had no intention of playing that game. He burst forward with explosive speed, telling Reckford to repent as he faced the resurrection crystal alone. Reckford was stunned by the sudden attack. The next moment, he was completely stripped. He stood there in shock, realizing he had respawned at the resurrection crystal. A system message confirmed he had just been killed by Ji. He also suffered a level penalty, dropping from level 3 to level 2, with all attributes reduced. He couldn't process what had just happened. His party members started laughing at him. They told him that all his clothes and equipment had been taken. A system message confirmed it. Players drop all items obtained within the last 24 hours upon death. Reckford's face turned red. The others pointed out that everything he had looted hadn't even been in his possession for 24 hours. He exploded in rage, humiliated that Ji had stripped him of everything in front of everyone. He swore he wasn't done yet, and that he would get his revenge no matter what. Meanwhile, G realized that his strike had only sent Rex back to the respawn point. Everything he dropped was still lying there. Hawk regained consciousness. He was relieved he had focused on defense, otherwise he would have been sent back to town in one hit. But he froze when he realized none of his teammates were around. Then he locked eyes with G. Panic hit him instantly. He warned Jai not to come any closer, his confidence completely gone. Jai calmly told him to take Rex's clothes back and deliver a message. If they ever crossed paths again, he would kill them until their levels dropped back to 0. Hawk quickly said he understood. He was shaking. Fear twisted his stomach. He tried to hold it in, but ended up throwing up anyway. He couldn't comprehend the overwhelming power he felt from Jai. It wasn't something stats could measure anymore. To him, it felt like facing the Grim Reaper. A god of war. Returned from hell. The system announced that he had successfully resisted malicious PvP from other players, earning a massive amount of reputation. His reputation in Meltdown increased by 300. As a result, his reputation reached follower level, surpassing 600 points. He gained a special status in town. NPCs would now actively support him, form stronger relationships, and unlock exclusive privileges. Even though he had been targeted, Gene knew this wasn't a loss. To him, it was a great trade. With everything settled, he decided to head back to town and rest. G returned to town, and the moment he entered, he was greeted with a grand welcome. Guards lined the path before him, all kneeling in respect. He paused, confused about what was happening. The townspeople stepped forward and offered him Meltown's highest honor, the miraculous Lord, Blade of Dawn. A system notification appeared, confirming that he had obtained a legendary title. The other players were stunned, unable to understand why NPCs were bowing to a player. They had no idea what the Blade of Dawn title meant. Curious, some wondered if it was something only top-paying players could unlock, and how expensive it must be. But others pointed out that even big spenders had never seen anything like it. The Blade of Dawn was a title Jai had heard of during a dungeon in his previous life. 3 years ago, the world was still trapped in a long, endless night. Everything was swallowed by darkness. The world had once been trapped in the long, epoch of eternal night. Monsters ran wild. The fire of civilization flickered, barely holding on. During that time, a legendary human warrior appeared. With only a great sword in hand, he became the one who brought the first light into the endless dark. From that moment on, he became the symbol of breaking the night. He led the allied forces of every faction into the final battle at the darkest hour before dawn. In the end, he brought a new world into the light. His nameless figure stood at the edge of a cliff, the morning light shining behind him. With his blade glowing like the rising sun, he raised it high. The title Blade of Dawn was meant for those brave enough to stand against evil. Jai recalled that before the game launched, there were 8 legacy titles heavily promoted. Each one represented a legendary hero from the history of Epoch. The developers had hinted that these weren't just lore, they were likely hidden achievements or extremely rare honor rewards. But he had never heard of anyone actually obtaining one. And yet, now, the legacy title Blade of Dawn, one of the 8 great titles, was in his hands, right here, in the beginner village of Meltown. As the townspeople welcomed him as the Blade of Dawn, even Jai didn't expect a reward this big. Jai, now addressed as Lord Blade of Dawn, was told that his actions had moved the entire town to tears of gratitude. A guard informed him that Mayor Oliver Green wished to personally host a welcome banquet in his honor. The system notified him that the side quest hero of Meltown had been activated. He was to proceed to the town council hall. The guard offered to escort him personally, but Jai refused, saying there was no need and telling him to return to his post. He knew that being too flashy would only attract unnecessary attention, so it was better to keep a low profile. As he walked away, someone watched from the shadows, gripping a blade. It was Reckford. He planned to ambush Jai the moment he stepped into a quiet alley. He swore to stab him in the back. Meki suggested backing off, pointing out that the entire town now respected Jai. Going against him could ruin their standing and their livelihood in Meltown. But Reckford refused. Their infamy already made them feared, and as long as they could kill Jai, there would always be people willing to follow them. Hawk asked if he had a plan to make Jai suffer. Reckford admitted that outside, he didn't have full control, but here in Meltown, he was the villain, and that gave him influence no one else had. A guard suddenly spotted them and warned that even during celebrations, drawing weapons in public was strictly forbidden. Reckford was caught red-handed holding 2 daggers. He quickly made an excuse, saying they were just discussing business. He complained that the rules were so strict that one couldn't even play the game properly. The guard warned them that malicious players were being closely monitored and reminded them to behave, especially since they already had a record. As the guard walked away, Reckford smirked. Even Meltown had its dark side. Under his breath, he muttered Linji's name. Clearly, he wasn't done with him yet. Meanwhile, Ji arrived at the town hall and headed straight for the mayor's office. Without hesitation, he reached for the door and stepped inside. As he entered, the mayor immediately recognized him as the Blade of Dawn. With a wide smile, he warmly welcomed him, saying he had finally arrived. The mayor thanked him sincerely, saying the nightmare that had haunted the town for years was finally over. He was relieved that Chanter Griffin had been completely eliminated. He praised Jai's actions, saying they not only saved the town but also countless lives. To him, this was a historic achievement, one worth remembering. Ji recalled that in his previous life, Mayor Green had been an intimidating NPC. It was likely due to years of exhaustion from constant battles against demons, which had worn him down both mentally and physically. But in this life, the mayor looked far better, and even his personality had changed. Jai realized it was simply because he had stepped in earlier and changed the outcome. To honor his bravery and kindness, the mayor made a formal proposal on behalf of the townspeople. They planned to build a golden statue of him in the central plaza so that everyone who came to Meltown would know his legend. And through it, they would feel the radiance of the Blade of Dawn. Jai thanked him, but said that kind of recognition meant nothing to him. He knew that other players' lives wouldn't truly change just because a statue of a novice appeared. Instead, he made a different proposal. The mayor agreed immediately and even offered anything in return: gold, a noble title, or any reward worthy of his achievements. Jai explained that now that the Griffin threat was gone, the military funds and resources prepared to fight it should be used in more practical ways to benefit everyone. He suggested two things. First, to implement a long-term tax reduction for adventurers in the town's trading venues. This would lower the growth cost for new players and make Meltown a more welcoming starting point. Second, to strengthen the town's security and patrol forces to prevent future threats, ensuring both residents and travelers could live in peace. The mayor was deeply moved. Unlike others who chased fame and power, Jai genuinely cared about everyone. Impressed by his foresight, the mayor immediately agreed and promised to carry out the plan at once. Suddenly, a system announcement echoed across the town. From that moment on, the tax rate for all trading in Meltown, between players, NPCs, and both, was permanently reduced by 50%. This was a reward for the outstanding contributions of a novice hero. The town erupted in excitement. Players were stunned to learn that taxes had been cut in half. Some thought only wealthy players could cause such a change. Others were simply relieved they could finally afford basic items like potions. Grateful voices filled the streets, praising Meltown and thanking whoever made it happen. Seeing this, the mayor grew emotional. He said Jai had truly brought the light of dawn to the town and won the hearts of everyone. As a token of personal gratitude, the mayor handed Jai a key. It was for a vacant 2-story house on the outskirts of town. He explained that while it was simple, the location was peaceful and overlooked the windmill fields. He then gave him a brass key along with the land deed, officially granting the property to him. With sincerity, he asked Jie to accept it as a reward. In his name as mayor, he invited Jie to settle in Meltown and make it his true home. Jie was stunned. The system notified him that he had obtained the first player-owned independent property in Epoch. With the Windmill View residence, his name was now recorded in the town's history. He could hardly believe it. He now owned property in Epoch. This was something that had once been completely out of reach. In a game controlled by a freely evolving master AI, so realistic it felt like a second world, land scarcity was a core rule. This wasn't like other games where rich players could throw money around, buy entire streets, or make NPCs serve them. Every piece of land already had an owner, either a system-controlled city, a native tribe, or even a lair occupied by overwhelmingly powerful monsters. At most, players could only rent temporary usage rights or small workshop spaces. Even if a guild spent massive resources and reputation to claim territory, they could still lose it at any time due to weak defenses or system intervention. But this, a private space that fully belonged to him, was an unimaginable advantage in the early game. Whether for storage, skill research, or future expansions, its value was enormous. Jai thanked Mayor Green sincerely, saying he truly appreciated the gift. The mayor replied that Jai choosing to live there was far more meaningful than any golden statue in the central plaza. The system granted him new privileges within Meltown. He unlocked teleportation within the town and could instantly repair his equipment. He also gained access to a remote auction house. On top of that, all his expenses in town would now have a permanent 15% discount. The system message ended by wishing him to be favored by Dawn forever. Jai smiled. After that, Jai walked through the city. With the discount the mayor had given him, he figured it was the perfect time to restock. Suddenly, a system notification popped. He had been pickpocketed, and he had lost 100 copper coins. A figure in a red robe smiled, clearly pleased with the theft. Jai immediately grabbed the robe and demanded that she give it back, but in the next instant, she vanished into thin air. Jai clenched his jaw, annoyed that he had been robbed in broad daylight. He realized that Meltown still needed stronger security. Without wasting another second, he chased after her. They ended up in a dark alley. Jai told her to stop running. There was nowhere left to go. She smirked and said he had it backward. This was her territory. The figure revealed herself as a dark street lowlife, a level 3 elite hooligan. More men stepped out from the shadows, blocking his escape. Ji recalled that Meltown still had a hidden dark side. One key figure stood out, the manager of the dark street, Xia Lian. She studied him with a smirk, noting how well-informed he was, even suspecting he might be a closed beta player. In his previous life, Ji had been targeted by these dark street NPCs more than once. He knew exactly how this worked. Keeping it simple, she told him someone had paid for his life. He had been marked for death. Ji quickly ran through the possibilities. So far, he'd only offended 2 people. Paladin Balai and Reckford from the Rex's villain gang. He asked who wanted him dead. With a knowing smile, she said he already knew the answer. There was no need to spell it out. Jai smirked, saying Reckford no longer had the courage to face him directly and could only resort to hiring others. She shrugged and clarified that she was just an NPC who handled transactions. To her, player grudges meant nothing, it was all business. Then she gave the order to kill him. The men behind Ji rushed forward. Ji drew his sword and turned to meet them. Their clash exploded through the narrow alley. In an instant, they were cut down. Xiaolian raised a brow, clearly impressed. Jai asked if she wanted to try next. She paused, calculating. Robbing him now would be bad business. If things went wrong, the payment she received might not even cover her men's medical costs. Seeing the situation clearly, she ordered her men to retreat. Even together, they weren't a match for the Blade of Dawn. She added calmly, even NPCs calculate profit and loss when doing business. She decided to send a message back to Reckford through this encounter. Her report would say that she tried her best, but the pressure was too much, and she had no choice but to back down midway. She waved goodbye playfully, calling him Little Blade of Dawn. Before leaving, she added that if he ever visited the dark street again, he could just mention her name. Ji suddenly stopped her, his expression turning cold. She turned back, slightly annoyed, pointing out that she was already letting him go. But instead of backing down, he demanded the bag of copper coins she had taken. She reminded him that she had already shown mercy by sparing his life. Amused, she said he still dared to bargain with her even after that. To her, that bag of coins was simply the price he paid for surviving. But to Ji, it was money he earned with his own strength. A heavy aura began to rise from his body as he told her that she made money with her own skills too. She unsheathed her sword, saying she would be taking both his bounty and his money instead. Jai charged forward, their blades collided, but in the next instant, his sword snapped in half. She calmly told him that she wielded a weapon of destruction. Jai narrowed his eyes, sensing something was wrong. In his previous life, she had only been a normal merchant in the black market run by NPCs. Back then, she would even casually offer to lend him money to buy a new weapon, just because she found him handsome. Now, she felt completely different. It made him wonder, what exactly had changed this time? Jai clenched his fists. Even if he had to fight barehanded, he was ready. He wasn't letting her go that easily. She could tell he was trying to provoke her. But to her, it felt outdated. Still, she wasn't in a bad mood, so she didn't mind trading a few blows. With a sly smile, she called her men and told them to start the Dark Street's welcome ceremony. The crowd roared like fanatics, shouting that their boss was invincible. Full of confidence, she charged straight at Ji. Ji was caught off guard. Luckily, he dodged at the last second, losing only a strand of hair. She followed up with another attack. He blocked her kick with his forearms. This girl was starting to annoy him. He quickly realized she was actually strong. He lunged forward. Their fists collided at the center. She tried to kick him again, but he dodged. She praised his quick reflexes. She aimed for a cheap shot, but he caught her wrist just in time. He tightened his grip and raised his fist. She froze for a moment. Then she pulled away right away. He said it was time to end the fight. His punch slammed into the wall, cracking it. The impact barely grazed her cheek. She found it interesting. Without a blade, she couldn't bring him down. He asked if she still thought fighting was worth it. From here on, she'd lose more than she'd gain. She stood there, stunned. Then she burst out laughing. Now she found him truly interesting. She lost all interest in fighting. She handed his pouch back. She knew she had already wasted enough time. She called her men, and they all left. He muttered that she was a strange woman. He noticed the pouch felt different now. For a second, he thought she had used some kind of illusion. Then he looked inside and froze. There was an eyeball. Along with it was a message from her. She said it was a meeting gift and that she looked forward to working with him. He frowned, confused about what the gift really meant. The eyeball suddenly glowed, and then it shot straight into his eye. He dropped to his knees, hit by sharp, unbearable pain. Suddenly, the system announced that he had obtained a rare, divine artifact, the Eye of True Sight. It looked like a dried-up eyeball, somehow linked to a fallen ancient god. Even though it had been abandoned, it granted him a powerful pseudo-skill, letting him see through illusions and uncover the truth. He didn't expect a reward like this. It was something he had never even heard of before. Now he couldn't help but think. This version of Meltown was far more interesting than he remembered. Later, at the market, he looked around, searching for anything useful. A man selling black stones caught his eye. He stepped closer and checked the goods. Black stone was the most common basic mineral in Epoch. Players who spent all their time mining for magic crystal ore had collapsed countless times because of it. Over time, the stuff piled up like mountains in players' warehouses. It took too much space and wasn't even worth selling. Recently, it had become trash, something people practically gave away for free. Suddenly, the Eye of True Sight activated. He didn't expect it to trigger on its own. Then he noticed something in the pile of stones. One crystal looked different from the rest. The eye completed its appraisal. It was a starlight stone. Jai was stunned. He didn't expect the Eye of True Sight to be this powerful. He had just found treasure by casually walking around. Jai decided to secure it first, then study it later. He asked the seller if he was selling it, and the man happily said yes. The seller tried to flatter him, and inside, Jai thought the man was such a sucker. Deep down, the seller didn't expect that a piece of trash stone could earn him a copper coin. He felt lucky. Jai crushed the gem and got the flameless starlight stone. Through its outer disguise, it was something normal appraisal couldn't detect at all. He wasn't surprised that it had been mistaken for a worthless scrapstone and tossed aside like trash. But now he knew that if he sold it directly to an NPC, it would be worth far more than 100 copper coins. He recalled that the starlight stone had another special use. When dismantled, it could turn into a rare material for alchemy. He wanted to maximize its value, so he decided to try alchemy. In the world of Epoch, players enjoy a lot of freedom when choosing lifestyle professions. Many even make lifestyle players, like tailors, blacksmiths, and gem crafters, their main class. The entry level for these professions is easy, almost like an extension of real life, serving as a nice break from combat. Because of that, most players try one or two. However, there is one lifestyle profession that is different. Not only is it hard to enter and expensive, but the process itself is dangerous. One small mistake can cause an explosion and kill you instantly. This is the alchemist and its curse. He opened the interface and decided to first check the current prices of alchemy products. The listing showed that a medium health potion cost 10 copper coins, with purchases limited to 1 bottle per day. If he followed the official crafting recipe, the material cost would be more than 1 copper coin, higher than the selling price. He saw that moonlight moss cost 2 copper coins, 2 sunflower nectar cost 5 copper coins, hemostasis herb cost 1 copper coin, while clean water and medium crystal bottles had almost no value. Just by looking at it, he knew it would be a loss. On top of that, alchemists usually had a high failure rate, often around 60%, making production even more expensive. Because of this, the real cost of potions was nearly double their listed price. This is why most players avoided alchemy. The more they invested, the more money they lost. But since he had lived in this world for years before, he already knew the hidden recipes for certain potions. Originally, even if he knew the recipe before, he couldn't craft it. He lacked the most important material, which was the starlight stone powder. But now, this unexpected find gave him the perfect chance to make a profit. Meanwhile, someone was spying on him and noticed that he was buying something again. The other spy told him not to mind and just secretly follow him, hoping to take advantage and earn money from whatever he was doing. Since Jai had the Blade of Dawn title, they assumed he was very familiar with the system economy from the closed beta. The man saw him buy a black stone at the previous stall, so he bought one too. The other spy admitted that he was convinced and ended up buying the whole stack. Ironically, the seller began to wonder if he had sold the black stones too cheaply. G bought enough medium crystal bottles and basic materials like verdant grass leaves. It was enough for him to craft 10 medium health potions. Then, using the rare material, he successfully created flawless starlight stone powder. One spy wondered what he had just crushed. His friend called him an idiot. He guessed that it was the black stone Jai had bought, and that Jai was trying to make high-grade goods with the black stone as the key material. They decided to copy him. They crushed the black stones in their hands and got cuttlefish stone powder and blue forage powder. Originally, the grass leaf essence could only be turned into weak herbal juice. Jai poured the grass leaf essence into the bottle, then he added the starlight stone powder. With the catalyst effect, the weak herbal mixture was instantly boosted into something much stronger. But that wasn't the end. The spies saw him heading toward the fountain and thought he was about to perform some high-level ritual. It made sense to them, since crafting like this should need a proper environment. As they watched closely, they came up with another guess about what he was doing. To their surprise, G simply filled the bottle with water, and the liquid inside turned green. The system notified him that he had obtained a medium health potion. G was satisfied. Its appearance matched the one sold in the shop, and the effect was the same. The spies thought he was making fake potions. He kept repeating the process, and he successfully crafted 100 medium health potions. The system rewarded him with a huge amount of alchemy experience, and his level rose quickly. Seeing the results, he realized that his past knowledge could now be turned straight into money. People noticed the bottles near the fountain and asked how much he was selling them for. More players came over and even tried to buy in bulk. In just 1 hour, everything he made was completely sold out. Since he priced them slightly lower than the shop, they sold instantly. Some were even resold at a higher price. In the end, his original 100 copper coins turned into 1,000 in just an hour. He was glad. The Griffin's reward had now multiplied 10 times. The spies finally realized they had underestimated him, and what he was selling was real medicine. They figured his method was likely secret knowledge from the closed beta. If it became public, it could shake the entire game economy. Seeing the chance, they planned to exploit it and get rich before the system fixed the loophole. Thinking it was easy, they tried to copy the process, believing alchemy was simple. But they ended up with a bottle of toxic potion instead. They doubted the recipe was wrong since they had watched every step. The guy who made it told his friend it was a health potion, just a different color. His friend asked if he dared to drink it, and just like that, the system notified that player Jabba had killed himself. The commotion caught Jai's attention. The crowd became curious about what was happening. They couldn't believe someone had just killed himself. But Jai knew they had tried alchemy blindly without understanding the recipe, and they suffered the curse of alchemy. He could only wish the guy better luck next time. Moving on to his next plan, he needed to log off and deal with his newly earned wealth. Jai logged off. At his house, he removed the VR helmet while calculating the exchange rate, noting that 1 copper coin was worth 10,000 yuan. Before logging off, he had already exchanged 50 copper coins through the trading platform. Shortly after, he received confirmation that 5 million yuan had been deposited into his account. He was impressed by how fast it was. Suddenly, he heard someone enter. A group of men barged into their home, demanding repayment and making threats. His mother and sister were caught off guard. They said the payment wasn't due yet since the month had just started, and the deadline was at the end of the month. The leader of the thugs admitted he originally planned to collect at the end of the month, but he had lost 1 million in Epoch. Threatening them, he warned that if he didn't get money back right away, things would get ugly. Jai's mother apologized, saying they didn't have the money yet. She begged for a few more days. The leader of the thugs didn't believe her. Then they grabbed Jai's sister. His mother called out to Sikshi, his sister. He grabbed the mother and made a disgusting remark about her daughter, treating her like something to be sold. Terrified, they tried to resist as he mocked their son for hiding instead of helping. He called the kid useless. He even suggested the kid should come out and do hard labor. At the very least, his organs could be sold for money. He was stunned when someone suddenly asked if it was 1 million. It was G. He transferred the money and asked if that was enough. They laughed at him, thinking he was bluffing. Until they received a notification that 1 million yuan had arrived in their account. They froze. One of the henchmen told the boss to check his account. Jie calmly asked if it was enough. Shishi asked if he robbed a bank. His mother asked where he got the money. The leader of the thugs started to realize something while his henchmen confirmed the payment. It was real. The leader grabbed Jai by the collar. He knew this brat was just a useless shut-in gamer. There was no way he could have 1 million. Jai told his mother to go inside. The thug demanded to know how he did it. Jai answered that he was just a gamer, so of course, he made money by playing games. The leader of the thugs was furious. He had lost 1 million, while Jai had just earned it. He declared that the money Jai sent wasn't repayment, but compensation for his gaming losses. Jai knew that was just extortion. The man reached out to grab G, but G quickly caught his wrist and twisted it. The man was shocked by how fast he moved. G said he wasn't only good at playing games. He twisted the man's arm harder, making him scream. The man couldn't believe this was the same useless gamer. Jai calmly said he was 100% that person. The other men started to get restless, But their boss told them not to move. He was already trembling as he begged Jai to settle this peacefully. Jai felt disgusted, hearing the man call him brother. The man noticed his overwhelming presence. To him, it felt like an evil spirit had come back from hell. Jai asked if he still wanted to extort him. The man quickly said it was all a misunderstanding and that he was just trying to make a living. He added there was no need to make things ugly. Since Jai had already paid, they had no reason to cause trouble, so he begged to be let go. He asked his men if they agreed. Of course, they followed their boss. Ji told them to get out of his house immediately. They rushed out without hesitation. Zixi and their mother watched them leave. Zixi even shouted at them, saying they were rude, and if she saw them again, she'd beat them up. The men quickly replied they wouldn't dare come back. Then Zixi turned to her brother and asked for an explanation. Ji was confused and asked what he needed to explain. She pointed out that a millionaire had suddenly appeared in their house. That made him nervous. He wondered how to explain everything without making his family worry. Jai thought about how good it felt to be reborn. This time his sister was healthy and alive. In his past life, his father died and his sister was very sick, leaving his family in huge debt. He had to carry the weight of the whole family. He went around holding his resume. People told him to go back and wait if any chance came up. Back then, jobs were hard to find, and life as a normal person was rough. He struggled to get stable work and could barely survive. Until one day, he passed by a mascot inviting people to play Epoch. They said it was an endless world, full of unknowns, with countless riches waiting for players to find. He could even make money just by playing games. And that was the real reason he started playing. He was a bit ashamed to admit it. He was just a rookie warrior. Then a gold farming group leader approached him because they needed someone who wasn't afraid to die. They told him that each run would pay 2 copper coins. He didn't hesitate and accepted right away. Every fight he entered felt like he was one step from death. But as long as he stayed alive, he could earn money. The leader soon noticed that Jai was hard to kill. He pointed out that Jai always survived until the very end. To others, it looked suspicious, like he was cheating. Jai said nothing. Seeing his effort, the leader gave him 1 extra copper coin. He told him to keep working hard and continue supporting them. Jai felt upset. By constantly facing life and death fights, his combat skills slowly improved. Over time, he became strong enough to survive on his own, even taking down bosses solo when needed. As he grew stronger, he formed a new belief. He realized that becoming the strongest didn't need money alone, but pure skill and technique could make it happen. With that mindset, he chose the path of becoming the strongest. It also let him earn money while protecting the person most important to him. He made up his mind to become the strongest. Later on in his journey, he met a good brother who fought beside him and shared the same goal. It was Bailey Cheng. They agreed to become the strongest in their own paths, relying only on their own strength. And then, they entered a showdown to see who was stronger. People talked about Jie, known as the undying god of war. He was only called for the most dangerous team fights. But those who saw him knew his skill was far beyond normal. It was something no average player could match. Starting from nothing, he climbed step by step with pure skill. His strength was built entirely on technique, far above ordinary players. Because of this, his income grew and his family's situation slowly improved. Until something changed. The pinnacle battle agent told him to concede. He couldn't accept it. He believed he had the strength to fight the best. He dreamed of reaching the top of Epoch and standing at its peak. And more than that, the prize money could cure his sister's illness. He asked why he should lose. The agent explained that this so-called pinnacle competition was controlled by money. As someone from a normal background, he had no chance against players backed by wealth. To them, his loss was already decided from the start. On top of that, his opponent was his good brother, Chang Cheng. Losing to him would mean helping him reach his goal, but Jay believed Chang Cheng wouldn't betray their promise. Since Chang Cheng knew his reason for becoming a player, he felt it was only right to go all out. He made up his mind to become the strongest. He was ready to risk everything just to defeat Balai. Even as a commoner, he chose to defy fate and rise with his own strength. Deep down, he believed that as long as he kept moving forward, this path was the right one. The agent warned him that if he didn't agree, the capital would find a way to force him to concede. So they suggested that instead of falling from the top, he should take the chance to retire. He thought about the gap between them. Balai could fail again and again and still rise because of his powerful backing. But for someone like him, one failure meant everything was over. He had no second chances. Just then he answered a call, already feeling something was wrong as he asked his mom what happened. His mother's voice shook as she said the hospital had stopped treatment because they had no money, and his sister's condition suddenly got worse. She begged him to give up, saying there were suspicious men in black watching at the hospital. Hearing that, he dropped the phone, completely shaken, and he broke down as he thought of his sister. In the present, Cixi asked if he was crying. Trying to calm her, he forced a smile. She said he was acting strange. She doubted if he could really make that much money from the game. He said yes because he opened a mystery box and sold a piece of equipment for a huge price. He told her they could finally live a better life now. Hearing that, she got excited and ran to get the VR helmet so she could play too. He shouted that minors were not allowed to play games. Everyone has their own reason for becoming a player. Some do it for glory, some for dreams, and some just to escape reality. As for Jai, his reason was simple. He wanted to become the strongest. People at the bottom are tough enough to survive. They are used to trading their lives for money, almost like monsters. No matter how bad things get, they somehow keep going. But the truth is, there's always a reason why someone survives. For him, it was simple. He wanted to become the strongest because only the last one standing can protect what matters most. That was why he chose to become a player. In this life, he wanted to become the strongest, but he still needed to buy some things first. So, he went to Epoch's official store, the Dimensional Edge. There were many different items inside. In his past life, it was only in the mid to late stage that he finally saved enough to buy equipment, and even then, it was 2 tiers lower than the best ones. But Chang Cheng was already using top-tier gear like the Supreme Thunder very early. The seller recognized him. He asked if the entry-level model wasn't working for him. He said he wanted to buy a Supreme Thunder. The man couldn't believe what he heard. Then he scoffed and said he wasn't trying to lecture him, but that kind of talk was something only real pro players would understand. The man dismissed him, saying it was impossible for someone his age. He said even if he worked manual labor for 10 years, he still couldn't afford even a small part of that device. Then someone walked in and paid for the Supreme Thunder in full. The seller instantly switched attitudes toward this rich client named Reckford. He said there was only one stock in the whole city, and it was specially prepared for him. Jai recognized Reckford's voice. The men behind Reckford muttered that they got screwed over by that idiot named Lin Jai. Reckford blamed his equipment for not being able to crush Jai. He was clearly furious. Then he noticed Jai standing right beside him. Jai said that enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. He reminded him of his last threat and asked if he wanted another lesson. Reckford realized Zhao Lian failed to finish him in the game. He admitted Jai was tough, but this was real life, and Reckford was confident here. His henchman reminded him that he said the same thing back in Meltown. He claimed that the kid cheated in the game, but in real life, he wouldn't be able to cheat. Plus, it was 3 against 1, so he told them to teach this kid a lesson. The seller quickly told them not to fight there. He warned Jai not to act rashly, reminding him that the person in front of him was young Master Reckford. He urged him to kneel and apologize, saying he couldn't afford the damage if anything broke in his shop. Ji sighed and said games should stay as games and not be dragged into real life. He added that he originally planned to let it go. Reckford got even angrier and pulled out a dagger. He was determined to take back the pride he lost in the game. The henchmen were also angry since they worked hard to level up. Reckford attacked him. Jai activated his eye. And in that moment, time seemed to slow down. He thought about how 5 years of brutal fights in Asura sharpened his mind and trained his brain. His reaction speed and muscle reflexes had improved a lot. Because his reactions were so fast, everything around him felt slower during fights, and the same thing happened in real life. After Jai dodged the attack, Reckford accused him of cheating in real life too. He got ready to strike back with his fist, and landed a heavy punch on him. Reckford looked like his soul had left his body. Jai told him that cheating in real life was impossible. Then he told the 2 remaining men to come at him together and save time. But those men chose to leave their boss behind. Jai casually paid and told the clerk to prepare the Supreme Thunder. The man was shocked and asked how he earned that much money as a manual laborer. Jai simply said his balance was enough. He left the store carrying a box in his hands. But then he noticed someone waiting for him. It was a large man with green hair. He recognized him as Hawk from the game. He asked why he didn't attack when his companions did. Hawk stammered. He struggled to say what he wanted. Then he suddenly said that he wanted to become stronger. Jai found it a bit amusing. He introduced himself as Hawk, a retribution knight. He begged the Blade of Dawn to accept him as a disciple. Jai said he had no plans to take a disciple and turned to leave, but Hawk grabbed onto him and said that from the moment he saw him fight like a god of war returned from hell, he realized Jai was a true powerhouse. Hawk admitted that he chose the Retribution Flame talent because he was afraid. He said he feared fighting others, getting hurt, and taking real responsibility. He added that all his flashy but useless effects were just hiding his cowardice. He admitted he was a failure. And now, He truly wanted to become stronger and become someone powerful like Jai. So he begged him again to accept him as a disciple. Jai apologized and said that for now, he had no plans to take disciples. He then thought that the other guy still didn't understand what truly mattered. Still, he added that maybe in the future, he might consider it. Hawk's eyes lit up when the Blade of Dawn didn't fully reject him. Jai knew that once someone admits their weakness, they've already started to grow stronger. He noted that Epoch was currently updating and preparing to launch version 1.0. He thought that when the time came, he would observe Hawk carefully before deciding. Hawk shouted that he would use this time to prove himself. He declared that he was worthy of becoming the Blade of Dawn's disciple. At that moment, the gears of fate began to turn, shifting in a way completely different from before. And this was something no one could have expected. Back home, G put on his VR helmet. He's ready to dominate the game again. A few seconds later, he appeared in front of his house in the game. He hadn't been there since Mayor Green gave him the key. Then he realized the update had set his default login point to his own house. He turned the key and said he was back. He was welcomed home as the Lord Blade of Dawn. A system message appeared, saying the update unlocked the house renovation feature, letting him freely modify the house. It also said the land within a 500-meter radius was now his personal territory. The system explained that the higher his reputation in Epoch, the more land he could gain in the future. Jai was surprised, realizing this feature even existed. He admitted that in his past life, he never owned a house, so he didn't know much about it. Looking around, he saw the house was completely empty and not livable at all. He checked the renovation options and saw things like luxury floor tiles, a leather sofa, a chandelier, and even a weapon rack, all priced in silver coins. He realized the house Mayor Green gave him was basically designed to drain all his hard-earned money. Comparing the costs, he thought it could even buy a real mansion, and he called them straight-up profiteers. Still, the scenery was nice, so the money wasn't a total waste. Sitting inside, he figured he could just earn more money later. Suddenly, someone rang the doorbell. He walked to the door to check. He opened it slightly and asked who it was. It was our number one baddie waifu, Leon. He made a sour face, already feeling unlucky. He tried to close the door, but she pushed it open and said they could be considered old friends. She asked if she was really that unwelcome. He then thought about how Leon controlled the entire underworld of the town, and nothing good ever came from dealing with her. It was also known that many players in Epoch were into malicious PvP. Players who gained red names couldn't move freely in most public areas, but underworld NPCs like Xiaolian would take in these infamous players and provide them with services. Of course, her services came with extra fees, and anyone looking for her was usually trouble. Then she said she had a job that could make him money. He said it was his first time seeing an NPC come directly to his door to offer a quest. Without hesitation, he told her he wasn't interested. She pushed the door open harder, hitting him in the face. She said that in Meltown, no one else could complete this quest except him. Then she explained that a man-eating demonic beast's lair had appeared on the western ridge. He had no idea something like that had even happened. Leon explained that the creature was very strong and had already eaten several of her subordinates, so she needed someone to deal with it. He pointed out that her men usually worked near the town. He asked why they would go all the way to Westwind Ridge just to die. Leon said that in their line of work it was better not to ask too many questions. She told him to just decide if he would take the job, offering 100 copper coins as a reward. Jai countered and said 10 silver coins instead. Leon was shocked and said that was an outrageous price, since 10 silver coins was equal to 1,000 copper coins. He calmly replied that since he was the one who could complete the quest, he had the right to set the price. He firmly said 10 silver coins was his final offer. Leon complained that with that amount, she could hire every player in town. She asked why she would even need him. He said that if she came to him personally, then she must have her own reason. He added that if she didn't want to say it, he could say it for her instead. Leon found that interesting and told him to go ahead. He revealed that Leon's treasure vault was located at Westwind Ridge and was actually a hidden dungeon. After the update, the cave had been taken over by respawned monsters. He pointed out that she wanted to get her treasure back but couldn't find the right person to do it. She was shocked that he knew. He knew that the stolen wealth she hid there was worth far more than 10 silver coins, possibly over 100 gold coins, along with many valuable items. Leon was stunned and asked how he could know all this, pointing out that he was just a beginner player. He said he was someone who had been reborn. He added that there was no NPC secret he didn't know. In his past life, Leon's vault later became a treasure hunt quest. It caused a server-wide craze, and he was one of the players who joined. But this only happened after Meltown was destroyed in the early stages of the game. Leon fell into darkness. She killed many innocent players and was later hunted down by a subjugation team. In the end, the Dark Street Xiaolian became just another name recorded in the history of Epoch. He told her that what he really wanted to talk about was the stolen money. He added that if he reported it to Mayor Green, then Xia Lian of the Dark Street wouldn't live to see the next version. Leon angrily cursed Mayor Green, saying he wouldn't dare interfere in her business. She then admitted that 10 silver coins was a lot to her since she valued money greatly. Still, she said she couldn't accept such a loss so easily. Since she cared so much about money, he told her he could handle the task without charging a single coin. Surprised, Leon asked if he really meant it. A wide grin spread across her face. In return, he wanted her to give up her position as the manager of the Dark Street. He thought about how becoming a villain doesn't happen overnight. It takes time, both in real life and in the game. He remembered that when he first met her, she felt different from how he knew her before. He also recalled that her story originally started as a small side quest. Later, Meltown was destroyed, and Chanter Griffin rose as the new ruler. Mayor Green was killed, and Xia Lian surrendered to the cruel Griffin. She eventually became his accomplice. She started to believe in the evil of human nature, and acted on it, letting the darkness in her grow without stopping. She became a villain, then a boss. And in the end, she was killed. But in this life, he saw a different side of her. She had seen him lead and rally her people, and she admitted her own weakness. She even gave him a gift for helping her, which meant she was once someone who felt joy and excitement from pure combat. He thought that maybe the flow of fate could start to change because of this small difference. Leon shouted that it was impossible. He activated the Eye of True Sight, which let him see through NPC lies. Realizing this, Leon angrily shouted that he used the item she gave him to spy on her. He said there were things in the Dark Street that were too important to lose, even if it meant giving up everything. Leon acknowledged him, saying she respected him as the Blade of Dawn, even while cursing at him. Then she pulled out her sword. He stared at her and firmly said this was his territory, telling Leon to show respect. He added that only he could help her get her treasure back. Leon said the treasure was her life savings, and if she left the underworld, it would be enough for her to live and even start a business. In the end, she agreed to leave the quest to him and told him to make sure to complete it. Jai couldn't believe he actually accepted Leon's unrewarded quest. Looking back on it now, he figured he must have been completely out of his mind at the time. Earlier, a system prompt appeared, telling him to head to the solitary fish pond outside the city near the South Gate to obtain a mysterious ultimate item. Leon told him the location had already been marked on his map. He asked her for the thing. Confused, Leon asked if he meant money when he had just agreed to do it for free. He clarified that he meant a weapon. She asked what weapon. He reminded her that the last time they fought, she shattered his sword in a single strike, leaving him without anything to use. He pointed out that she should at least compensate him with one. She replied that she wasn't skilled with swords and only used blades. Then she presented him with a weapon called the Night-Wandering Ghost. He inspected it and saw that it was long enough, had a sharp edge, and could be wielded with 2 hands, so to him it was obviously a sword. But the moment he held it, he realized that Leon's blade was much heavier than it looked. The system described the weapon as the famous blade Night-Wandering Ghost, an unsheathed item born from the lingering resentment of its former master, who died while trying to sheathe the blade. If its quality was upgraded high enough, it would gain the Rakshasa state. The system also warned that the weapon's durability would continuously decrease and could never be repaired. Additionally, if equipped against an enemy with a lower quality weapon, it could destroy the opponent's weapon instantly. If the enemy's weapon was of equal or higher quality, the blade would instead enter the Rakshasa state, though doing so would further reduce its durability afterward, and again, it could never be repaired. At present, he was cutting through vines. He thought that without Leon's marker, it probably would have taken him an entire day just to find the entrance. Then he sensed the presence of a mysterious demonic creature nearby. This beast was running towards our MC. He was shocked to discover a level 1 wild boar. In Epoch, creatures like this were basically just ingredients. But then, a terrifying presence sent a chill down his spine. It crashed towards the boar. Our boy froze in confusion. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. There was a dragon. A level 8 black dragon zodiac stood before him, while he himself was only level 2. The dragon looked down at him mockingly and called him a foolish human who dared challenge it. It said the entire situation was laughable. Leon then appeared on the screen and saw that he had already encountered it. She casually commented that things moved faster than expected. At that moment, Jai finally understood what she meant by that thing. She had basically sent him here to die. He immediately pointed out that a boss monster like that should normally require at least a 5-man party. But Leon explained that field bosses became stronger depending on how many players were involved, so even if he called more people over, it would only make the fight even more chaotic. She also reminded him that he had already crossed swords with her, the Blade of Dawn, and, compared to that, his current strength was already far beyond those level 4 or 5 trash mobs. Jai knew that monsters around the beginner town normally didn't exceed level 4, and even Chanter Griffin was only around level 5. So a level 8 black dragon appearing there had to be some kind of mistake. But Leon reminded him that he had already defeated Griffin alone by abusing strange mechanics, so if he could do that, then he should be able to handle this dragon too. Jia, however, pointed out that this was a 6-level gap and questioned whether something like that could really be overcome with mechanics alone. The dragon addressed him as an invader and declared that since he had entered its lair, it would mercifully offer him 2 choices. The first was death. It would bury him so completely that not even his ashes would remain. As for the second choice, the dragon claimed it was willing to show special mercy by accepting fresh blood into the ranks of its servants, so long as he knelt and praised the mighty name of Zodiac. Jai casually replied that he wasn't interested and said he only came here to give the dragon a reminder. From what he could tell, the dragon seemed to have illegally occupied someone else's home. Enraged, the dragon roared that every treasure inside that lair originally belonged to it anyway. Jai thought to himself that the game portrayed dragons exactly as expected: arrogant, rude, and greedy. Honestly, it wasn't much different from Leon. The dragon then declared that he should prepare to face its punishment. A system alert immediately appeared, stating that the black dragon Zodiac had locked onto him as its attack target. Jai recalled that even in his previous life, when he defeated a young black dragon of the same level, he already had a full 8-man party and had reached level 3. In Epoch, the difference between a level 2 and level 3 character was nearly double in stats. Even with all his experience and understanding of the game's mechanics, the situation was still incredibly difficult. And to make matters worse, his current body's performance was terrible. At that moment, he realized that Leon had tricked him once again. He tightened his grip on his sword. Ji knew that a black dragon normally had 4 attack patterns: breath, claw strike, bite, and tail sweep. In his current state, getting hit by even one of those attacks would instantly kill him. The dragon couldn't believe that a mere human actually dared challenge it. He carefully observed the dragon's movements and noticed that every attack had a slight wind-up beforehand. For the breath attack, the dragon would tilt its head upward, inhale deeply, plant its claws firmly into the ground, and twist its body before releasing the attack. When it went for a bite, its body would quickly lean backward before snapping forward. As for the claw strike, he noticed that it followed a fan-shaped attack pattern and left behind a brief half-second opening afterward. Right now, it was exactly half a second after the claw strike. This was his chance to counter-attack. He immediately moved in, determined to deal damage. The dragon cursed him and called him a damn ant. Then suddenly its jaws lunged toward him. He was about to be eaten, and it was already too late to dodge. He had no choice but to use Griffin's golden bell. Golden light instantly enveloped his body as the dragon's jaws snapped shut around him. A moment later, the dragon spat him back out. Apparently, it didn't like the taste. Curious, the dragon asked what exactly that strange thing was. Jai silently felt fortunate that he still had the item since it ended up saving his life. But even then, he admitted to himself that he still couldn't break through the dragon's defenses. He needed to figure out another way to win. The dragon quickly realized that he could no longer use the bell. Then Ji saw it preparing the dragon breath sweep. He knew exactly what that attack was: a sustained cone-shaped stream of fire that was practically impossible to dodge head-on. When fighting dragons, players normally tried to keep a safe distance, but the farther they moved away, the wider the breath attack's range became, making it even harder to avoid. So the true safe distance was actually 0. The dragon noticed how fast he was moving. It commented that a level 2 human should not be capable of that kind of speed. Jai rushed in and struck the dragon, dealing only 3 damage. He immediately complained that the famous blade was disappointing, since it could barely deal any damage at all. The dragon mocked him and pointed out that he couldn't even pierce the scales of its zodiac dragon body. It admitted that it had overestimated him. Meanwhile, through the screen, Leon casually muttered that she had almost forgotten to mention something important. The night-wandering ghost was apparently shy around strangers. Jai shouted in frustration, demanding to know why she was only bringing that up now. Leon explained that it was a legacy weapon with a strong personality. If the blade did not acknowledge its wielder, then its true power could never be unleashed. He immediately asked what conditions were needed for acknowledgement. She answered that he had to prove he was someone who had survived true life-and-death trials. Jai had already seen plenty of ridiculous weapon acknowledgement conditions in games before. And when it came to dealing with death, he was exceptionally experienced. So he raised his middle finger toward the dragon and openly taunted it. The dragon inhaled deeply, making Jai immediately realize that it was preparing another dragon breath sweep. He instantly sprinted to the left to avoid the incoming fire breath. Then, instead of retreating, he charged directly toward the dragon. His target was a specific 3-inch spot on the dragon's neck, because that was where the reverse scale was located. He swung his blade toward it. The dragon was visibly caught off guard. It immediately flew backward into the air, while angrily asking if this insolent human truly believed that attack would be enough to injure it. Jai steadied his footing and clicked his tongue. He admitted that he had completely forgotten dragons could fly. Then he activated Grip Enhancement. Leon suddenly panicked and warned him that the dragon was about to unleash Dragon Breath Dive. With his current physique and equipment, there was no way he could survive that attack. But Ji argued that if the blade only acknowledged those who were unafraid of death. A massive fireball began forming inside the dragon's mouth. Jai argued that he was wielding a famous legendary blade, so instead, the sword should be worshipping him like a god, because he was a god of war who had crawled back from hell itself. A system notification suddenly appeared, stating that he had gained acknowledgement from the legendary weapon, the famous blade Yamasharu. Another message immediately followed. He had awakened the weapon ability Defense Break. The skill allowed his attacks to ignore the defensive structure of armor and scales. Even Leon looked surprised that the blade released its power in such a short amount of time. The dragon couldn't believe that such a puny human was actually making it feel danger. It called Jai a despicable man. Then it swore that he would die in agony and regret his insolence forever. At that moment, Jai realized that the blade's ability was perfectly suited for him right now. As long as he continued fighting the dragon in close combat and poured strength into every strike, he could eventually bring it down. The dragon mocked him and claimed that he had finally made a truly stupid choice. It declared that the moment he leapt into the air, he had personally thrown away his final chance to dodge. A system message appeared, informing him that secondary dodge actions could not be performed while mid-air. Jai understood that even the slightest mistake in his jump would send him straight into hell. He also knew that the line between life and death often depended on a difference of only a few milliseconds. But despite all that, he trusted the sword in his hand completely, without reservation and almost obsessively. He could feel the tension in his hands, his burning breath, every inch of his boiling blood and flesh, and all the willpower he'd compressed into this single moment. The dragon roared at him to die. But Ji believed that in this chaotic world, those were the only things he could truly entrust his life to. And in this massive gamble, other than victory, he believed there were no other possible outcomes. We then saw that our boy had chopped the dragon's head clean off. Its massive body plummeted from the sky at terrifying speed. The system announced that he had defeated the black dragon Zodius. Because he killed a legendary monster far above his level, he received a 300% experience bonus and gained 12,810 experience points. His level instantly rose to 3, leaving him with 2,000 out of 4,750 EXP. But it didn't stop there. His level continued climbing until he reached level 5 with 8,834 out of 13,100 EXP remaining. He also gained 15 free attribute points, 5 proficiency points, and unlocked the title, Dragon Slayer. The title applied coercion against dragon-type monsters, slowing their attacks by 30%. It also increased his critical rate when striking dragon-type weak points and granted him special treatment from NPCs. Jai was satisfied. Even without deliberately grinding monsters, his level had risen by a huge amount. Leon pointed out that while she already knew he could defeat enemies above his level, killing a dragon in a single strike was still absurd. She asked how something like that was even possible. He explained that it wasn't impossible. Earlier, he had used the Eye of True Sight to pinpoint the exact location of the Black Dragon's reverse scale. As long as he seized the perfect opening and struck that reverse scale directly, it would trigger a super crit. On top of that, the Night-Wandering Ghost's red blade added another damage bonus, while the armor-breaking strike pierced through the dragon's scale defense. After stacking all those amplifications together, the total damage exceeded the Black Dragon's maximum health points. That was why it became a one-hit kill. Leon questioned how he could possibly guarantee that all those low-probability amplifications would activate at the exact same moment. If he had failed, he would have been in serious danger. He simply replied that walking through the gates of hell was what highly skilled players did. She admitted she couldn't fully understand it, but acknowledged that he was ridiculously strong. Ji realized that after leveling up several times in a row, he had suddenly accumulated a large amount of skill points. He decided to use the opportunity to strengthen himself immediately. A status screen appeared, displaying his profession, attributes, and overall stats. His profession remained blank. His race was human, and his level was now 5. He carried the title Saint Under the Tranquil Sunlight. His health stood at 450. Mana points were unavailable. Rage points were at 0 out of 100. His damage ranged from 60 to 107, while his weapon sharpness and defense stood at 20 and 26.50 respectively. His strength was 8, endurance was 7, agility was 4, intelligence was 1, spirit was 1, willpower was 2 plus an additional bonus point, and he still had 20 unallocated attribute points remaining. He reflected that warrior-type classes always prioritized strength first, since most two-handed weapon users relied on it to maximize their damage output. Without hesitation, he poured 16 points directly into strength. Against weaker enemies, finishing fights in a single strike was always the most efficient option. Otherwise, combat efficiency would drop drastically. He then considered endurance. Since endurance mainly affected health and status resistance, he believed it didn't need to be pushed too high. Still, he added 1 point to avoid the risk of getting instantly killed by boss monsters and to meet future equipment requirements. Next came agility. Agility directly affected the smoothness of movement and combat control. He increased it from 4 to 10. For players who relied on extreme mechanics and precision, agility was even more important than endurance. As for the remaining attributes, he completely abandoned them. Rather than wasting points trying to balance every weakness, it was better to push his specialty to the absolute limit. The status screen updated once more, revealing his newly enhanced stats and increased combat power. Jai nodded in satisfaction. Very good. He had become even stronger once again. He knew that reaching higher levels would only make future battles more difficult if he failed to properly improve his combat skills. So he opened the warrior skill list displayed before him. Jai realized he could no longer rely purely on instinct and split-second reactions. He needed a set of reliable, practical skills. The first active skill he selected was Berserk. At the cost of sacrificing 10% of his current health, the skill massively increased his rage points and boosted all attributes by 30%. However, once his health dropped below 15%, the Berserk state would end and immediately place him into a weakened state. More importantly, it was also a mandatory prerequisite for advancing into the Berserker class later on. For his second skill point, he upgraded Grip Enhancement, advancing it into Grip Enhancement 2. The skill further increased the strength of his arms. If he attempted to disarm an opponent, the duration of the disarmed state would become significantly longer. Against enemies with lower strength than his own, he could even knock their weapons completely out of their hands. It also synergized with Calibration. And during unarmed strength checks, his strength stat would effectively double. For his third skill, he selected Throw. Throwing his weapon at a target would inflict damage equal to the weapon's original attack power. Leon immediately questioned his choice. She bluntly stated that it sounded like a trash agility-type skill. Jai admitted that she wasn't wrong. Just from reading the description alone, the skill really did seem underwhelming. The throw skill required at least 10 agility points before it could even be learned. Most warriors focused heavily on strength and endurance early on, so very few players met the requirement in the first place. And even if they did qualify, almost nobody would willingly choose it. From a practical combat perspective, throwing away the weapon in your hand was an enormous risk. If the player failed to retrieve it afterward, they would instantly place themselves at a huge disadvantage. Jai explained that throw was indeed considered a trash skill. But the only reason people viewed it that way was because they understood its usage far too literally. Leon looked confused. Jai explained that whenever players imagined ranged combat, they immediately thought of bows, crossbows, muskets, or cannons that would only appear in future updates. Those stereotypes completely limited the imagination of players. In reality, ranged attacks did not necessarily require traditional ranged weapons. And among all professions, warriors naturally possessed the highest strength attribute. That made warriors the class most suited to maximize the true potential of throw. Leon suddenly realized what he meant. His hidden trump card was actually a ranged combat technique. She admitted she never would have thought of that possibility, but Jai shook his head. He told her that her answer was close but still incomplete. The real reason he confidently selected throw was because of another trump card, and that trump card was Grip Enhancement. Leon stared at him in disbelief. Another trash skill? Jai immediately scolded her for casually calling everything trash. Although grip enhancement was widely mocked by players, it actually possessed a hidden interaction when paired with throw. And that hidden synergy was powerful enough to completely transform the poorly designed skill into something extraordinary. The combination of grip enhancement and throw was a technique he personally named Piercing Rainbow. Jai unleashed the attack. The thrown weapon shot forward with explosive force, tearing through the air like a deadly meteor. The system immediately responded. To reward players who pioneered entirely new playstyles, the game allowed them to freely name any original combo skills they created. A notification appeared, confirming the successful creation of the pioneered combo skill, Piercing Rainbow. Jai explained that it was a melee warrior technique capable of unlocking Tier 1 rare abilities through playstyle innovation. This was the path that completely separated him from ordinary players. Leon looked at him in amazement. What he trusted most was not luck, nor hidden information, but his own judgment. It was almost as if he had already seen the future itself. In the end, she admitted that regardless of how he accomplished it, he had successfully completed the quest, which meant he deserved his reward. She suggested that they return to the city, saying she would reward him with 10 silver coins as agreed. He immediately questioned it, pointing out that their agreement had not been for just 10 silver coins. She smirked and casually replied that she had changed her mind. Since he had earned her approval, she now believed that Blade of Dawn's strength was worth 10 gold coins instead. As for their previous agreement that she would no longer be the manager of the Dark Street, she declared that it was naturally impossible. He was instantly annoyed. He never expected an NPC like her to shamelessly backpedal on her own words. In his previous life, NPCs had never done anything as outrageous as denying the contents of their own commissions. She proudly declared that she was Leon of the Dark Street, the ruler of Meltown's underworld, and because of that, she would do whatever she wanted. She warned him that if he returned too late, she might not even give him the reward anymore. He immediately demanded that she hand over the money now, stating that he had already earned it and no longer wanted anything to do with her business. Inwardly, he concluded that he could never cooperate with an NPC who casually broke her promises, and if she eventually fell into depravity and became a villain, then she would have brought it upon herself. He took another step forward, and the ground beneath him suddenly cracked. Instantly, he found himself falling into a hidden pit. He crashed heavily onto the ground below. At the same time, the system announced that he had entered Leon's treasure vault. It was a secret location that countless players had searched for endlessly in his previous life without ever finding. He never imagined that he would accidentally stumble into it like this. He observed that there was no glittering gold or precious gems inside the vault. There were only piles of toys, rag dolls, and countless traces of a child growing up. He slowly fell silent. Then his gaze landed on a framed picture hanging on the wall. He saw Leon. And, beside her, stood Meltown's mayor, Green. At that moment, he finally realized the truth. Leon was actually Mayor Green's daughter, and this treasure vault was never meant to store wealth. Her real treasure was her memories. After that, our MC went back to the dark alley. He had just taken care of Leon's underlings. Then, from the top of the stacked crates, Leon looked down at him and declared that he now knew all of her secrets. He calmly stated that Mayor Green's security orders had always activated during the most critical moments, and now he understood why. Everything had been done to protect her. Leon scoffed and referred to the mayor as that damned old man. She complained that the old man believed order and safety were the only things novice players wanted, but in her opinion, players who couldn't survive the law of the jungle would never last anyway. And recognizing that reality early inside the beginner village would actually benefit them in the long run. Jai admitted that part of him wanted to agree with her viewpoint. But there was one issue he absolutely rejected. Even if the world truly operated under the law of the jungle, she still had no right to decide who was strong and who was weak. He pointed between the two of them and asked her which one she believed was truly stronger. Leon grew irritated. She admitted that she liked the question and added that the answer would become obvious very soon. Jai then stated that he had changed his mind regarding the reward for the quest. The condition would remain exactly the same. She would step down as the manager of the Dark Street. Leon immediately rejected it and declared that it was impossible. Hearing that answer, Ji simply told her to follow her own law of the jungle. If she stood before him as the loser, then she would have to obey his commands. Leon asked what would happen if he lost instead. Ji calmly answered that losing was impossible. Because he was now the only player who knew her secret, Leon declared that she finally had a reason to kill him. Even if he possessed enough strength to slay a dragon barehanded, she insisted there was absolutely no chance he could defeat her. Jai smirked and admitted that he was looking forward to seeing her true abilities. The moment he activated Berserk, his aura exploded outward. Although the Berserk state continuously drained his health, it dramatically enhanced his speed and destructive power, allowing him to perform movements that bordered on the impossible. Leon carefully observed his new movements and admitted that they were far more impressive than before. Then she attacked. But our boy easily dodged it. She confidently declared that his current state wouldn't even last 3 seconds. Jai scoffed in response. The instant her blade descended, he punched directly toward her weapon. Leon mocked him and told him to stop acting tough because he was still nowhere near capable of stopping her Tachi bare-handed. But the next second, he actually parried her strike and blasted her backward. Her body crashed into the stacked crates, completely shattering them apart. Leon lay there in disbelief. She couldn't believe that the night-wandering ghost had truly acknowledged his strength. Jai declared that only the strong had the right to create rules. And one day, he would stand at the very pinnacle of the world and rewrite all those meaningless rules himself. Leon immediately denied that she was losing. The shape of her sword suddenly changed. Its blade became thinner, longer, sharper. Jai observed the weapon carefully and admitted that its aura wasn't bad, but even so, she still couldn't defeat him, because he was the strongest. Leon unleashed a surge of dark energy. She demanded that he stop deciding everything. She declared that the rule of the dark street was the law of the jungle, and that nothing could stand against that power. Ji blocked her attack. He stated that for many players, Epoch was just a game, and nobody cared whether an NPC lived or died. But for him, it was a real and bloody life. Leon was stunned by his words. Jai stated that he had seen a reality far colder and more desperate. Because of that, he refused to accept her law of the jungle. Just a little flashback. In our MC's previous life, several goblin corpses lay scattered around a damaged carriage. A system notification announced the completion of a random event involving a goblin raiding party. The kidnapped elf girl had been rescued, earning them 50 elf reputation points and 1,200 experience points. The elf girl was tied up and trembling in fear. A man noted that the quest was complete and that they had already received the reward. He asked what they should do with the elf NPC since there were no follow-up quests. Another man worried that if they let her wander off, she might return to the goblin village and trigger an alarm. He walked up to the elf with a dagger and suggested that they might as well kill her now to avoid future trouble. While choking her, he casually remarked that NPCs would respawn anyway. He even joked that her realistic appearance would be a refreshing change of pace after killing monsters for so long. A man frowned after hearing those words. A dark-haired man warned him that those players were gold farming bosses. If he offended them, they could kick him from the party and leave him with nothing. Sighing, he commented that there were many things in the game that were difficult to stomach, and that some people only played it to satisfy their twisted desires. He reminded him that he still had a sister waiting for money for her medical treatment. The elf desperately cried out for help. The man tightened his grip on his weapon. The other player stated that an identical elf would respawn in 10 minutes and told him to close his eyes and pretend he saw nothing. But he attacked the man holding the dagger. The surrounding players were shocked. They asked Jai what he had done. Nobody expected him to kill a gold farming boss just to save an NPC. As a result, Jai received his first red name status. At that moment, his blade moved far faster than his thoughts. His body reacted before he could weigh the pros and cons. He simply could not stand by and watch something so wrong happen. Jai was convinced that someone had made a mistake. He knew the elf would respawn soon, but he still wondered what would happen to the one he'd just saved. He acknowledged that while the game's rules tolerated such pure evil, things were different when they happened right before his eyes. As long as he could still swing his sword, he felt obligated to judge things according to his own sense of right and wrong. He challenged anyone who disagreed with his actions to step forward and kill him. Back in the present, Jai asked Leon what gave her the right to dictate her rules. He answered his own question. His right came from the fact that he was still willing to draw his sword for even the smallest trace of goodwill. He spoke of her pain, her rebellion, and the warm memories hidden deep within her treasure vault. Jai admitted that while he could never fully understand her feelings, he knew what it was like to lose someone precious. Even so, he told her that she was wrong. He stated that she had turned the softest part of her heart into sharp thorns, only to wound herself and the people who cared about her. Leon screamed at him to stop talking and brought her sword down in fury. Ji parried the strike. He noticed an opening in her defense. He realized that he could now choose any way he wanted to deliver a fatal blow. He tightened his grip on his sword as he swung it. At that moment, he felt like a teacher disciplining a stubborn child. So instead of using the blade, he used the tip of his scabbard and smacked her right on the forehead. Leon trembled as tears quickly filled her eyes. She dropped to her knees and burst into tears. A system notification then revealed her true identity as Ming Lian, administrator of the Dark Crevice. Ji stood calmly before her as he admitted defeat. After the fight, Lian calmed down and noticed the scabbard. She was confused because the night-wandering ghost had never possessed a scabbard. Jai reminded her that the sword had originally been a gift from Mayor Green. He revealed that the night-wandering ghost once did have a scabbard. This was the secret he had uncovered inside her own treasure vault. Leon refused to accept it. She insisted that a sword like the night-wandering ghost did not need a scabbard because sheathing a sword meant compromise, and nothing should ever be able to restrain their will. Jai explained that hiding her sharp edge within a scabbard had been Mayor Green's original intention when he gave her that sword. He added that no matter how grand her ambitions were, they still needed to be tempered by a certain level of self-awareness. Then he revealed the name of the scabbard. It was called Goodwill. Leon was left speechless. Half an hour earlier, Jai had met with Mayor Green regarding his daughter, Xiaolian. The mayor asked for his help in persuading Leon to change her ways and stop walking down the wrong path. As for the reward, Jai was free to name any price he wanted. Jai only asked for 10 silver coins. Mayor Green happily agreed. Jai later discovered that entering Xiaolian's treasure vault had triggered a hidden quest. Because of that, the 10 silver coins he had previously lost to her ended up returning right back into his pocket. He felt satisfied knowing that doing a good deed had ultimately rewarded him in return. Back to our MC. The heavy blade stood firmly planted in the ground with its scabbard attached. Ji concluded that an unsheathed sword was not the sharpest sword of all. Instead, an undrawn sword was the sharpest weapon. Now that it was a special period, he reminded Leon that Meltown and Mayor Green still needed her. She smiled. She could hardly believe that she had actually lost to a player who had simply accepted a quest. She acknowledged her defeat and admitted that it was no surprise he carried the title Blade of Dawn. She declared that Meltown would no longer have a dark street or a manager. From that day onward, she would simply be Jia Lian of Meltown. One of her subordinates worried about how they would make a living from now on. Leon immediately proposed switching to a loan sharking business instead, pointing out that novice players were always short on money. Jai couldn't help but wonder if anything had really changed. She explained that the money would be used as investment capital to maintain public order in Meltown and protect the surrounding areas. In her eyes, that qualified as an act of goodwill. Jai accepted her explanation and noted that Mayor Green would be very pleased to hear the news. A system notification then confirmed the completion of the quest to earn Mayor Green's trust. His reputation in Meltown increased by 1,000 points. As Lin Ji walked through town, he realized that he had returned Leon's famous blade, the night-wandering ghost, leaving him without a reliable weapon. He remembered how his previous greatsword had been shattered during their battle. As a result, his weapon, the branch of the World Tree, had reverted back into a simple wooden stick. Although the wooden stick was still usable, its base damage was far too low to keep up with his current level. Finding a new weapon immediately became his top priority. A loud commotion suddenly drew everyone's attention. 2 players announced that they were quitting the game and clearing out all of their belongings. They loudly declared that a super rare legacy divine artifact was searching for its destined owner. They pointed toward a giant red sword embedded in the ground. It was revealed to be Karsi Mel's sword. Jai immediately recognized it as the legendary blade once wielded by the sword saint, Karsi Mel. Karsi Mel was a legendary sword saint and one of the greatest heroes in Epoch's history. Even Meltown had been named in his honor. Unfortunately, his legacy weapon was now treated as little more than a decorative item with no practical value. The crowd quickly gathered around the sword. They were shocked that someone was actually giving away a legacy divine artifact. Many wondered how much it would cost. Ji knew that players who had never seen the sword before would mistakenly assume it was an overpowered weapon. The seller then declared that it was completely free. Internally, he thought about the fortune he was about to make and silently thanked a certain person for making all of this possible. He recalled how, due to a streak of terrible luck, he had once accidentally poisoned himself to death and lost 2 levels. To catch up with his group's progress, he sacrificed his rest time and headed outside the city to grind monsters. Unfortunately, his bad luck struck again when a bridge collapsed while he was crossing a river. While searching through the water below, he unexpectedly discovered a legacy divine artifact. That artifact turned out to be Karsi Mel's sword. At first, he and his brother believed they had hit the jackpot after finding such a legendary item. However, they were later informed that the sword was completely useless and worth no more than 10 copper coins. The appraiser even suggested that they keep it as a souvenir. Feeling utterly scammed, he wondered whether their luck could possibly get any worse. Desperate to recover some value from the discovery, he decided to use the legendary sword as bait to trick unsuspecting players into spending money. Standing before the crowd, they announced the rules for obtaining the sword. They had decided to determine the winner through an arm wrestling match. If anyone could defeat his brother, they would win the divine artifact for free. He assured everyone that the competition would be completely fair. The crowd gasped at the offer, thrilled by the chance to obtain a legacy divine artifact without spending a single coin. Jai wondered whether he should step forward and give it a try. Since the world tree could fuse with almost any weapon, it might be able to work its magic on this broken sword and produce some unexpected results. But then, a man confidently stepped forward to accept the challenge. His system status revealed that his profession was barbarian and that he possessed a strength value of 18. The man looked down on his opponent since he clearly did not appear to be a strength-based player. He was certain that victory was already his. The man sitting at the table, Zaro, warned that not just anyone could participate. He explained that anyone who lost would have to pay 1 silver coin. The barbarian wagered his entire fortune of 1 silver coin on a single round. Internally, he mocked Zaro for looking so scrawny, especially since his strength value was only 12. Jai watched from the side, confident that the barbarian would not lose with such a high strength stat. He planned to take a turn himself afterward. The arm wrestling match began. Zaro was delighted that the barbarian had taken the bait. Secretly, he activated his skill, Silent Weakness Curse, which reduced the strength of anyone who touched him by 10 points. Players in the beginner village were generally only around level 5, meaning that after suffering the curse, none of them could surpass his own strength value. The barbarian's strength instantly dropped from 18 to 8. He lost. The barbarian nearly cried after losing all of his money. Jai then stepped forward and asked if he could give it a try. Zaro and Jabba immediately recognized him as Blade of Dawn. Zaro's face darkened. He remembered the time he had tried to copy Jai's potion brewing method, only to waste a life for absolutely nothing and become the laughing stock of the village for 2 straight days. He eagerly welcomed the chance to face Jai head-on. In his mind, Jai was responsible for the miserable situation he and Jabba had ended up in. Jai wondered whether he was imagining things, because he could practically feel murderous intent radiating from the man. Zaro believed that Ji possessed information far beyond what normal players knew. He suspected that Jai was a closed beta tester secretly exploiting insider knowledge. More than anything, he wanted to humiliate the famous player in front of everyone. While Jabba distracted the crowd by pointing toward the sky, Zaro secretly drank a potion. He thought that if Ji could abuse game loopholes, then he could cheat as well. The potion boosted his strength to 14, and he believed that Jai had absolutely no chance of winning now. Jai pointed out how ridiculous it was to claim there was an airplane flying through a fantasy game. Meanwhile, Zaro internally declared himself invincible and prepared to crush Jai. Moments later, the system announced the start of the match. Jai noticed smoke rising from Zaro's body and asked why he was suddenly smoking when he had looked perfectly normal just moments ago. For some reason, he could feel an intense murderous aura coming from the man. Zaro declared that he could not wait to beat Ji. Our boy tried to tell him to wait a minute. Before he could say anything else, Zaro was suddenly blasted backward, kicking up a massive cloud of dust. The crowd was left completely stunned. Everyone was confused. Jai remained sitting in place while the structure behind Zaro partially collapsed. System notifications immediately appeared, revealing that Zaro's arm had been completely fractured, disarmed, and stunned. An exclusive system notification explained the passive skill Violent Outburst. It stated that any non-player character who triggered the skill would lose the use of the hand that made physical contact, be forcibly disarmed, and enter a stunned state. Jai immediately realized what had happened. The arm wrestling match had accidentally triggered the disarm effect. Since his opponent was technically unarmed, the knockback effect had been applied directly to the player's body. As a result, Zaro was launched through the air, and GA won instantly. The system had apparently treated Zaro's arm as a weapon and disarmed it. Jabba burst out laughing and remarked that Jai had stolen his bait once again. He added that he had underestimated his brother's destined rival. Jai looked at him in confusion and asked who he was. Jabba was offended and accused Jai of going too far by not even remembering him. Ignoring the complaint entirely, Jai claimed his victory and demanded the prize sword. Jabba immediately declared that things would not be that simple. He called for the guards and shouted that everyone had just witnessed the man in front of them seriously injure his brother. He continued accusing Jai of malicious assault using cruel methods. According to him, the crime was severe enough to deserve at least 24 hours in prison. Jai was completely unimpressed. He realized once again that player scams in this game were endless. These guys were even willing to drag the guards into their schemes. Guard Captain Lance soon arrived and happily greeted Jai. Jai recognized the captain immediately. Internally, he knew that non-lethal matches voluntarily agreed upon by players were completely legal within the game, meaning the guards normally would not interfere. Jabba instantly panicked. He began wondering whether the guards were secretly working together with Jie. The thought crossed his mind that Jie might have some shady arrangement with the developers that forced every NPC in the game to treat him specially. Then again, even he was not sure whether something like that was possible. Guard Captain Lance reminded everyone that the event had been a peaceful match between consenting participants and did not involve intentional harm. Then he pointed directly at Jabba. He announced that players Jabba and Zaro were suspected of engaging in scamming and cheating activities within the game. Jabba was completely dumbfounded. The guards immediately issued a punishment, banning Jabba's account for 24 hours. As he was restrained and dragged away, Jabba loudly protested that he was innocent and accused Jai of abusing game loopholes. He insisted that Jai was the true villain and demanded that the guards arrest him instead. Jai simply told him to stop being a scammer. A system notification then appeared, confirming that he had obtained Karsi Mel's sword. Someone had been watching everything from above. It was an old man. He noted that Jie had successfully gathered items related to Karsi Mel. However, he questioned whether Jie was truly worthy of inheriting them. He decided to test him personally. Jai successfully restored Karsi Mel's sword. A system notification displayed the stats of the restored weapon. Karsi Mel's sword possessed a base attack power of 75 to 145. Its unique trait, Sword Saint's Legacy, greatly amplified its power when resonating with the Oath of the Sword. Meanwhile, Secret of the World Tree granted the weapon combat memories that would gradually awaken its full strength as its condition improved. Jai quickly realized that this legacy weapon perfectly complemented his second talent, Oath of the Sword. Now that he had a new weapon, he decided to test its power. Jai examined the map and immediately ruled out the monsters around Meltown. Their levels were simply too low for him. He estimated that most players were currently around level 5. According to the system, the recommended leveling area for level 5 players was the Whispering Forest. However, based on current player trends, he knew the area was probably packed with people. For a solo player like him, it was the worst possible place to grind. Instead, he decided to skip ahead and challenge stronger monsters. At the same time, he could take the opportunity to explore the Nameless Ruins, a new area introduced in the latest update. Moments later at the Nameless Ruins, which was officially designated as a level 6 zone, Jai cautiously moved through the ruins. The system soon identified the first monsters he encountered as level 7 dire wolves. He was slightly surprised. A level 6 zone containing level 7 monsters explained perfectly why there were no other players around. His fighting spirit surged. To him, the difference between levels 6 and 7 was practically meaningless. The wolves charged at him simultaneously. In a flash, Ji unleashed a series of powerful slashes with his glowing sword. The dire wolves were cut down instantly. Their deaths were converted into experience points. A system notification immediately informed him that his experience bar had increased by 15%. Jai concluded that ordinary level 7 monsters were far too weak. None of them could even survive a basic slash from him. In his opinion, only an elite-tier monster of at least level 7 would be capable of exchanging blows with him. Then he suddenly stopped. He sensed something. Without warning, the ground beneath him collapsed. A violent explosion erupted, creating a massive crater. Jai was stunned. Moments later, he realized that he had been teleported somewhere else. A troubling thought crossed his mind. Had he accidentally entered a boss's exclusive domain because of a map bug? In his previous life, only a handful of legacy-level bosses possessed exclusive domains. And once a player entered one of those domains, escape was impossible. The only way out was to fulfill the conditions required to defeat the boss. A system notification appeared, informing him that he had entered the ultimate abyss, Valley of Swords. Before him stood a pair of enormous doors. As he pushed them open, Ji became convinced that something extraordinary was hidden inside the hall. Even before revealing itself, the presence emanating from within carried a terrifying aura. Since he was already here, Ji declared that he would defeat whatever was waiting for him. Suddenly, a blinding flash of light burst through the opening. Ji was stunned. He instinctively raised his sword to block. Even so, the impact hurled him backward. He landed safely and quickly regained his footing. The overwhelming aura left him astonished. Then an old warrior slowly walked out of the hall. The old man informed Ji that surviving that sword strike had qualified him for the trial of the sword. He explained that Karsi Mel's sword had originally been planted upon the pedestal before them. If Jai failed the trial of the sword would return to its rightful place, and his talent, Oath of the Sword, would be personally stripped away by the old warrior. Jai was shocked when he heard those words. The trial of the sword. At that moment, he realized the identity of the old man standing before him. It was Karsi Mel himself. Jai recalled the day he had selected the talent, Oath of the Sword. Back then, a figure named Outright had explained that a true swordsman devoted themselves to a single weapon for their entire life. He told Jai that the talent had been created by the legendary sword saint, Karsi Mel, and that those who inherited it were known as Sword Oathkeepers. Outright then asked whether he was truly willing to obtain extraordinary swordsmanship abilities at the cost of being restricted to swords for the rest of his life. Without the slightest hesitation, Ji answered that he was. Back to the present. Karsi Mel asked whether Linji knew who he was. Ji replied that he knew him all too well. In his previous life, Karsi Mel had always worn a mask that concealed his true appearance. Jai remembered spending an entire week trying to clear the trial of the sword. Just thinking about that experience was enough to make him sick. Addressing him as the Blade of Dawn and the Dragon Slayer, Mel acknowledged that Jai had successfully gathered the inheritance of the Sword Oathkeeper, as well as the fragments of his legacy divine artifact. However, Mel declared that he would personally determine whether Jai was truly qualified to wield those powers. He introduced himself as Karsi Mel, the wind-riding sword saint and founder of Meltown. Then he issued a challenge. Jai immediately complained that Mel had started a fight less than a minute after meeting him and had not even given him time to prepare. Karsi Mel was widely recognized as the pinnacle of swordsmanship. Many believed that abandoning every other sword style and dedicating oneself entirely to the wind-riding sword was enough to claim the #1 position on the swordsmanship leaderboard. Since the launch of the game, only 2 players had ever managed to pass his trial. Mel announced that the trial would begin. In an instant, Karsi Mel's aura exploded outward. Jai barely managed to parry the incoming strike. He was stunned by the speed of the sword. It was as swift as the wind itself. In his previous life, Jai had not cleared the trial of the sword until he reached level 20. Only then had he possessed enough strength to keep up with the pinnacle of swordsmanship. But now he was only level 5, yet he had been forced to face Mel's trial far earlier than expected. Jai gritted his teeth. 5 years had passed since the last time he challenged the trial of the sword. This time, he had entered completely unprepared. Their swords collided, releasing a powerful shockwave that sent Jai flying backward. Jai steadied himself. Then he resolved to fight with everything he had, even if it meant making his final stand. Thanks for watching, bros. If you enjoyed this update, make sure to drop a like and hit subscribe so you never miss the next chapter we upload here on Manhwa Updater. New episodes from the main Manhwa dealer channel will always land here every week, so stick around and stay updated. And hey, if you want more fire stories, check out the latest upload on the main channel right after this. As always, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.